Ethan, can we eat dinner here tonight? Ethan was simmering a cream of mushroom soup, its rich aroma filling the air. If the soup already looked this delicious, one could only imagine how incredible the prosciutto with morel mushrooms would taste. Ethan was in charge of the food, bringing not only fresh prosciutto, but also all the necessary side ingredients and spices, missing nothing. For someone with a sensitive stomach, eating well was paramount. He wouldn't compromise on his meals. Hearing Christopher and the others asked to join them for dinner, Ethan didn't say anything, simply staring at them. "We won't eat for free. Here are some truffles we found, and we can help you with chores," Logan added, a little sheepishly. Ethan put down his long spoon. "How many of you?" "The three of us." Wasn't it obvious? Although Amelia wasn't looking over, she was listening intently, paying close attention. "You two can stay for dinner. Amelia can't. We have bad blood." With the cameras rolling, Ethan dared to openly exclude Amelia. Where was his sense of propriety? Wasn't he afraid of causing controversy? Christopher hesitated. "That doesn't seem right. We're all filming the show together. There's no need to make things so ugly. If you think it's not right, then you can both go back." Ethan ladled out the soup and started stir-frying the mushrooms. The aroma drifted towards them with the smoke, impossible to avoid. Logan watched the rendered fat sizzling in the pan, the Maillard reaction making his mouth water uncontrollably. He couldn't imagine how delicious that prosciutto and truffle stir-fry would be. Logan stood rooted to the spot, reluctant to leave. For the first time, he envied Olivia Bennett, who could seemingly join whichever team she pleased. Ethan had his reasons for isolating Amelia, reasons that wouldn't cause backlash even if aired. But it was different for Christopher and Logan. Two grown men abandoning their female teammate just for a meal? Would that even be human? Unable to bring themselves to do it, the two could only dejectedly carry their mushrooms back and start building a fire to cook. Their own food supplies were limited. Learning to cook like Ethan was impossible. His methods were too complex, and they couldn't replicate the flavor. They had to go for something simple. So, they decided to make a simple, wild mushroom soup, quick and easy. Amelia sat in her tent, watching Logan and Christopher wash the pot and start the fire. She knew their attempt to get dinner had failed. She loved Ethan's cooking and had been thinking about it ever since he left. Yesterday, she had indeed eaten food cooked by Ethan, but it was all beef stew with green beans, her least favorite dish. A whole meal of it. Given how much Ethan despised her now, yesterday must have been intentional, a way to punish William indirectly as well. The sizzle of oil from their cooking area could be heard even over here, accompanied by the sounds of stir-frying, the aroma drifting over on the wind. Amelia had always loved wild mushrooms. Fresh ones were hard to come by in Rosewood City, so every summer, Ethan used to arrange for someone to buy them for her. Good ingredients paired with a skilled chef resulted in truly top-tier cuisine. She could almost perfectly imagine how delicious Ethan's dinner must be right now. Olivia Bennett's voice drifted over from the next campsite. "It smells so good. When can we eat?" "Ethan, have some soup first. The rest will be ready soon." Amelia sat on the ground, burying her head in her knees. She actually felt a pang of envy towards Olivia Bennett. The confidence she'd arrived with was now replaced by shame and self-reproach. She hadn't accomplished anything. She hadn't gotten information about the Yian Group's boss from Ethan, nor had she convinced him to drop the lawsuit. She didn't know how she would face Benjamin Harper when she got back. He would definitely be disappointed in her, maybe even yell at her. After all, this whole mess was her fault. No matter how much Benjamin Harper doted on his daughter, when it came to business interests, she had to take a back seat. A small defamation case should have been easy to resolve, but Benjamin Harper was currently fundraising for the Westbrook district land deal. If this wasn't handled properly, Harper Enterprises' reputation would suffer, its stock price would fall, and the consequences would be immeasurable. Furthermore, Ethan had the backing of the Yian Group. Their exact relationship was unclear, and the unknown was terrifying. Would he get the Yian Group to target Harper Enterprises? While Amelia was lost in these anxious thoughts, dinner had started over at Ethan's campsite. Olivia Bennett ate soup and meat, her eyes longing for the mushrooms, but she held back from taking any. "Why are you only eating soup and not the mushrooms?" Ethan finally asked after Olivia Bennett finished her third bowl of soup. Olivia Bennett clutched her bowl, looking guilty. "I just like the soup. You make really good soup." "Ethan, maybe drink less soup. If you drink too much, you'll need the toilet during the night. It's not like home out here. There are snakes outside." Olivia Bennett's face turned pale with fright upon hearing that. "Don't scare her. If you need to use the restroom tonight and you're scared, you can call me to go with you." Victoria Harper ladled a spoonful of mushrooms and meat into Olivia Bennett's bowl. "Eat more mushrooms. You won't get wild ones this fresh once we leave here." Victoria Harper could tell Olivia Bennet was likely holding back out of embarrassment, as she hadn't found any edible mushrooms that afternoon. Encouraged by Victoria Harper, Olivia Bennet ate until her cheeks puffed out, quickly becoming full. She volunteered to wash the dishes, though she definitely couldn't manage it alone and would need Ethan's help. Victoria Harper and Grace Parker returned to their tent, sprinkling snake repellent powder around it and spraying insect repellent both inside and out. Bathing was out of the question in the wild. They could only heat some water for a quick sponge bath. "How's your foot?" Victoria Harper heard the concern in Grace Parker's voice. Victoria took off her sock. The wound was weeping slightly and looked red and painful. "It's okay, not too painful." After washing her foot, Victoria Harper sprayed iodine on the wound, applied some antiseptic powder, covered the smaller cuts with bandages, and wrapped the larger one with gauze. They were heading back tomorrow. Victoria Harper's injury wouldn't heal overnight. She'd probably need Ethan to carry her down the mountain. "The director said we have 3 days off. I'd like to ask Ethan out for one of those days." "Why are you telling me this?" Victoria Harper asked, amused, looking at her. Grace Parker felt she should give her a heads up. If Victoria Harper also wanted to ask Ethan out, Grace didn't think she stood a chance. "I only want to ask him for one day. My mother is ill and has wanted to see him again for years. I mentioned it to Ethan a while ago, and he agreed." At this point, Grace Parker added a further explanation. "Don't worry, I don't have any other intentions towards him anymore. We're just ordinary friends. As long as you're clear with him, I have no objections." Grace Parker breathed a sigh of relief and murmured, "Thank you." Outside, while Olivia Bennet and Ethan were heating water to wash dishes, the group next door had just finished cooking their meal. Christopher's group had made the simplest mushroom porridge. Boil the rice first, then add the mushrooms, and finally season with salt. But the cast iron stove was incredibly difficult to manage. They'd finally gotten the water boiling and added the mushrooms, only for the fire to die down again. Simmering unevenly like that, the finished pot of porridge wasn't white, but a disconcerting purplish blue. Christopher was uneasy. "Is this edible?" Logan sounded confident. "Mushrooms turn this color. Why wouldn't it be edible?" "Don't worry, we boiled it for 15 to 20 minutes. It should be non-toxic by now." Logan sprinkled some salt into the porridge and tasted it for seasoning. Indeed, high-end ingredients often require only the simplest cooking methods. Just boil them, and they taste great. Christopher went to call Amelia out for dinner. After Christopher and Amelia came out, Logan served 3 bowls of porridge. "Eat up. Ethan and the others are heading to bed after dinner. I'm wiped out today. Feels like I could fall asleep the moment I close my eyes." He muttered as he blew on his spoon. The porridge was seasoned just right and tasted decent, though the color was a little off. Amelia glanced at the bluish tint in her bowl. "Is this even edible?" "It's fine," Logan reassured her. "That's just the color of the mushrooms. The community workers said it's safe to eat." Really? She'd only ever had wild mushroom soup that looked yellowish. Blue was a first. She didn't want to eat it, but she hadn't had much lunch and had been walking all afternoon. Her stomach was empty, and she worried about low blood sugar. Amelia took a sip. The taste was odd but still tolerable. There was a mild saltiness to it. She finished the bowl and even ate a few pieces of mushroom. Afterwards, she offered to wash the dishes. But neither of the guys was about to let a woman, especially someone like Lady Harper, handle that kind of chore. She probably wouldn't do it well anyway, and would just end up making a mess. "I'll do it," Christopher quickly said. "You should rest. Or maybe scatter some peppermint oil capsules around the tent to keep bugs and snakes away tonight." Amelia took the advice. Christopher and Logan washed the dishes together, relying on the crew's lights to see in the forest. It was cooler up in the mountains than at Oak Ridge Community. The breeze was chilly. Logan had never been camping before. This whole Appalachian Trail setup reminded him of horror movies, creepy and unsettling. He took advantage of the group being around to quickly finish up and head back into the tent. The director made his rounds, checking on everyone. When he got to Amelia's tent, he asked, "You guys feeling okay after eating those mushrooms?" Logan poked his head out of the tent. "We're fine. Boiled them for 15 to 20 minutes. They should be cooked and safe by now." "Should be." That gave the director a chill. "Did the supervisor check the dish before you ate?" Logan froze. He'd forgotten about that part. The director had brought in both a doctor and 2 community workers specifically to help identify edible mushrooms. They were also supposed to check the final dish to judge whether it was thoroughly cooked and safe to eat. But when they finished cooking, the supervisor wasn't around. They were all starving and dove in without thinking. Still, Logan remained confident. "Don't worry, director. We're all fine. No one's allergic to truffles or anything." The director wasn't convinced, but there wasn't much else he could do. He just hoped nothing would happen. 8 p.m. Amelia tidied up the tent and sat waiting for Olivia Bennet to come apologize. She waited as darkness fell, until even the staff had packed up their gear, but Olivia never came. Was she really planning to cut her off? Since when had Olivia gotten so stubborn that she wouldn't even come back to the tent? Where was she going to sleep tonight? What Amelia didn't know was that Olivia had already moved into Victoria Harper's tent. Victoria slept in the middle, with Grace Parker on one side and Olivia Bennet on the other. Olivia had chosen the innermost spot. She was too scared to sleep near the entrance in case there were snakes outside. Luckily, it was chilly in the mountains, so the three of them squeezed together for warmth. Victoria even smelled kind of nice. Olivia had rarely seen her wear makeup during filming. At night, she just rinsed her face with plain water, and her skin was amazing. Victoria was a couple of years older, but Olivia found herself thinking, if I look that good at 27, I'll be lucky. She started to wonder, maybe Victoria wasn't as annoying as she'd thought. Why did she dislike her again? Oh, right, because Amelia didn't like Victoria's uncle, and Olivia had believed what she said. Olivia kept fidgeting. Victoria opened her eyes. Can't sleep? Olivia froze, hesitated, then admitted, I need to go to the bathroom. She'd had too much wild mushroom soup earlier, and now her bladder was full. She'd even dreamed about looking for a bathroom. I'm scared to go alone. What if there's a snake? Without a word, Victoria sat up, grabbed a flashlight, and turned it on. I'll go with you. The crew had set up a makeshift toilet not far from the tents. The area was cleared of brush and reasonably spacious. Earlier that morning, someone had seen a snake in a tree, so Olivia kept scanning both the ground and the branches as they walked, her eyes darting everywhere. She clasped her hands and mumbled under her breath. Victoria glanced at her. What are you muttering? I read online that if you see a snake, you should make a wish and ask it not to bother you. Then you won't see any more snakes that year. I saw one this morning, but forgot to wish. I'm making up for it now. Victoria paused. Take your time then. We're here. Want me to wait inside or outside? Outside, please. Just don't leave. Promise you won't leave. Victoria waited outside. Not long after, Olivia came running out and grabbed her arm. There were so many bugs in there, it was terrifying. Let's go back. Victoria looked down, expression blank. Did you wash your hands? Olivia let go instinctively. There's no sink. There's a bucket of water in there. That was for hand washing. Yeah. Shine the light for me. I'll go do it now. Olivia quickly washed her hands, shook them off, wiped them on her clothes, then linked arms with Victoria again. She needed the support. As they headed back, they heard strange noises from a nearby tent, groaning, retching. Curious, Olivia peeked over and saw the director arriving with a doctor. More staff were gathering, lights blazing. What's going on? She asked Victoria. Looks like someone had an allergic reaction to the mushrooms. What? But I thought the community workers checked everything. Victoria said, worried about Amelia? Olivia didn't reply, but the silence was answer enough. Want to go check? Victoria held her hand and walked over. The director looked frazzled, his hair practically standing on end. He'd had a bad feeling earlier, and now it was coming true. Seeing Victoria and Olivia, he was startled. What are you doing here? Are you two okay? We're fine, Victoria said. What happened? 3 of them had allergic reactions. The doctor's making them throw up now. We're getting ready to send them down the mountain to the nearest Mayo Clinic. One William at the Mayo Clinic had been trouble enough. Now, there were 3 more on the way. That made a full table for Mahjong. Amelia felt like her stomach was turning inside out. Her head was spinning. Her vision was flooded with colored halos, and she thought she could see mutated insects buzzing around. The commotion was impossible to ignore. Even Ethan, who had been asleep, was jolted awake. He sat up, threw on his jacket, and went outside just in time to see Amelia being carried out. Her face, still red from where Victoria Harper had slapped her, was now as white as a sheet. Back when Logan and Christopher were cooking, Ethan had a bad feeling something would happen to the 3 of them. People who couldn't even cook instant noodles properly. How could anyone expect them to prepare poisonous mushrooms correctly? Ethan watched impassively as Amelia was carried away. She seemed to see him too, reaching a hand out towards him before letting it fall limply. Grace Parker had also gotten up, rubbing her eyes, still unaware of what had happened. She stepped out in her short sleeves and shivered as a gust of cold wind hit her. What's going on? What happened? A truffle allergy. Grace Parker fell silent. Unlucky was the only word that came to mind. Not only were the 3 of them unlucky, but the production crew was too. 3 people gone just like that. Can they even keep filming this show? Ethan shook his head. The break will probably have to be extended. Can I see you during the break? Ethan looked at her. Is there something specific? Can I ask just because? Grace Parker suppressed her inner longing. I mentioned before that my mom wanted to invite you over for dinner. Remember? I remember. Ethan asked when he was little, whenever his grandma was busy and couldn't look after him, she would have Aunt Grace watch him. Aunt Grace was an excellent cook, and he had loved eating at her place. Ethan had actually first learned to cook from her. Thinking back, it really had been a long time since they'd met. He only had a vague memory of Aunt Grace now. I'll go back and ask my mom. Once we set a time, I'll contact you in advance. Ethan nodded. After Amelia and the other two were sent down the mountain, the director reluctantly announced they should wait for further notice. Luckily, they had already been told to stop the Twitch stream before heading up the mountain. Otherwise, if the footage had gotten out, who knows how badly they would have been flamed. The contestants having accidents one after another constituted a major incident. Whether they could successfully finish filming the whole show was now uncertain. The director was a maverick, a genius at stirring things up. During the month of filming, the show had been trending on Twitter every day, becoming a phenomenal reality show. The popularity was a double-edged sword. Plenty of people were watching for the drama, but once something went wrong, the critics would come out in full force. The director rubbed his head, feeling his increasingly sparse hair thinning even more. Fortunately, they had enough recorded footage. Post-production could edit plenty of main episodes and behind-the-scenes clips to act as a buffer. Therefore, the break was extended from the original 3 days to a month, possibly even longer. If the contestants weren't opposed, they might see if they could film some of their daily lives during the break. Seeing Ethan, Olivia Bennett seemed to find her anchor. She asked worriedly, "They'll be okay, right? There are doctors with them. They'll be fine." Olivia Bennett's gaze remained fixed in the direction Amelia had gone. She was worried about her. Even though she'd said they were done being friends, how could so many years of friendship be severed just like that? Ethan said directly, "If you're really worried about Amelia, you could go with them." The director would agree. Olivia Bennett shook her head. "No, it's okay. She has so many people around her, caring for her. She doesn't need me there too. I'd better not add to the trouble." The director, also worried, went along too, leaving the assistant director at the site responsible for keeping things calm. Basically, everyone should just get some sleep if they could. They would pack up and head down the mountain when daylight came. Everyone returned to their respective tents. There were now 2 empty tents, enough for people to sleep 1 per tent, but Olivia Bennett still chose to squeeze in and sleep with Victoria Harper and Grace Parker. Ethan also returned to his own tent. It was only 9 o'clock. Having been woken up, he couldn't get back to sleep now. He didn't have his phone on him. Rummaging around, he finally found an instruction manual to kill time. Nearly 40 minutes later, a rustling sound came from outside. The small noise seemed particularly piercing in the night. Ethan propped himself up slightly. Looking outside, he could vaguely make out a figure. He initially thought it was a crew member passing by, but then the figure crouched down, clearly about to unzip his tent. "Who is it?" "It's me, Victoria Harper." Victoria Harper unzipped the tent and poked her head in. Her eyes, glistening, looked at him like a small deer lost in the woods. Ethan sat up. "What are you doing here? Can I come in?" Before he could even answer, Victoria Harper had already opened the tent wider and slipped inside, giving Ethan no chance to reply. The tent wasn't large. One had to stoop and bend their knees to get in. Once inside, Victoria Harper knelt directly on the sleeping mat, zipped the tent shut, then slowly moved towards Ethan. "Ethan, aren't you scared? I heard there are wild animals in these mountains." Ethan, feigning calm, said, "I'm not scared." "But I am." Victoria Harper had already moved right next to him, pressing down on his sleeping bag. "I want to sleep in here with you." Scared? Her? She was the bravest one among everyone here. If she were really scared, she wouldn't have accompanied Olivia Bennett to the toilet earlier, let alone sneak into his tent in the middle of the night. Then again, she had just waltzed right in his tent. Did Grace Parker and Olivia Bennett not notice she was gone? And were all the crew members outside asleep? In the already cramped space, the two of them drew closer and closer. It felt as if the temperature inside the tent began to rise. "No." As soon as the word left Ethan's mouth, Victoria Harper had already lain down. She then grabbed the sleeping bag, wrapped it tightly around herself like a cocoon, stealing it completely off him. Then she turned her back to Ethan, leaving only her head visible. Ethan, he was completely stuck and utterly helpless. What could he do if she wouldn't leave? He couldn't exactly pick her up and throw her out, could he? After a long moment, Victoria Harper's muffled voice finally came from the bundle. "Ethan, comfort me. What's wrong? Did something happen?" "Victoria Harper, Grace Parker said she's going to ask you to go back with her to see her mom soon. Are you going to go see her and then forget all about me?" Ethan immediately replied, "Of course not. You and she were childhood sweethearts, first loves. They say you never forget your first love. Will you two rekindle things?" "No, I've already turned her down." Afraid Victoria Harper wouldn't believe him, Ethan added emphatically, "I promise." Still wrapped in the sleeping bag and facing away, Victoria Harper asked, "Grace Parker also said her mom hasn't been well lately and is in the hospital. Will you feel sorry for her and agree to things?" "Well, that depends on the situation." He roughly understood what Victoria Harper was afraid of now. Ethan really started trying to comfort her. He leaned closer, gently turned Victoria Harper's shoulders to face him, looked in her eyes, and said, "Don't overthink things. What you're worried about won't happen." As he spoke, he awkwardly patted her head. "How about this? Right after I see your mom, I'll come find you immediately, okay? Then, you can ask me anything, and I'll answer honestly. I won't give you anything to worry about." Victoria Harper released her bitten lip, her teary eyes finally showing a trace of light. "You'd really come find me?" "If you call me, I'll come," Ethan replied, thinking he had finally coaxed her into feeling better. "You should head back now. It won't look good if someone sees us." "I don't want to." Victoria Harper snuggled deeper into the blanket. "Your bed is so comfortable. I want to sleep here." It was rare to see Victoria Harper act like a spoiled child. She was usually seductive, assertive, or cold. Never like this. "Then sleep here," Ethan said, coming up with a plan. "I'll go sleep in another tent." He figured he'd just wake up early tomorrow and sneak her back before anyone noticed. Suddenly, Victoria Harper grabbed his hand and peeked her face out from the covers, rubbing her cheek against the back of his hand like a clingy little bunny. "Can you stay with me for a bit?" Her fingers were soft and smooth, like touching a cloud. Ethan flinched slightly, keeping his eyes on the shadows dancing across the tent wall. "Just sleep. You're not leaving?" "I'm not leaving." "Then lie down," Victoria said with a mischievous gleam in her eyes. "It's not like I'm going to eat you. What are you so afraid of?" He knew she was teasing him, deliberately trying to provoke him, but when she tugged on his hand, he still sat down and lay beside her. They were about 4 feet apart, close enough to feel the other's presence without touching. Any small movement would give him away. Ethan lay stiff as a board, afraid to move. Eventually, he heard the gentle rhythm of her breathing. He carefully turned his head and saw that Victoria Harper had already fallen asleep. She looked younger in her sleep, like a girl in her early 20s. Her lips were slightly curved, her cheeks soft and pale with a hint of pink, her lashes long and thick. She looked so delicate it made you want to reach out and touch her. She was hugging his arm tightly. Ethan tried to ease it out, but she held on even harder, resting her neck on his arm like a pillow. There was no escaping now. He sighed inwardly, torn between reluctance and helplessness. Eyes wide open, he took a deep breath and looked away. He thought there was no way he'd fall asleep under these circumstances. But to his surprise, her breathing was like a lullaby. His eyelids grew heavy, and before he knew it, they closed. And just then, Victoria Harper, who had pretended to be asleep, slowly opened her eyes. She found a comfortable spot and nestled into Ethan's arms, wrapping her arms around his waist and listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. She didn't want to cause him trouble, so after lying there for a while, she quietly slipped out of the tent. Ethan jolted awake and instinctively looked beside him. She was gone. He reached out to touch where she had been, cold. She had been gone for a while. He fumbled for his watch by the pillow. It was already 5 a.m. The sky outside was still dark, and everything was silent. By 5:30, the faint light of dawn began to show, and the crew started to stir. Worried that the remaining cast members might get food poisoning again, the assistant director had specifically invited local community workers to cook breakfast this time. As Ethan stepped out of the tent, he glanced at the one next door. A moment later, Olivia Bennett's voice floated out. "Where's Victoria Harper? When did she get up? I didn't hear a thing." "She didn't come back to her own tent last night." "Then where did she go?" There was rustling inside. Olivia Bennett unzipped the flap and peeked her head out, spotting Ethan. "Ethan, have you seen Victoria Harper?" Grace Parker also looked at him. Unlike Olivia's innocent curiosity, Grace's gaze flicked meaningfully toward the tent behind Ethan. She clearly knew. Seeing Grace staring at Ethan's tent, Olivia followed her gaze. A sudden, horrifying thought flashed through her mind. Did Victoria Harper sleep in Ethan's tent? Just as she was about to go check, the tent next door opened. Turns out, Victoria Harper had slept in Amelia Harper's tent. Seeing her step out, Olivia visibly relaxed. "Weren't you supposed to sleep with us last night? Why'd you go over there?" "You drool in your sleep, snore, and hog the bed. I couldn't take it, so I switched tents." Liar. I do not drool or snore. Ethan watched them bicker and couldn't help but smile. So full of energy this early in the morning. Youth really is a gift. Grace Parker was still watching him. Her gaze was impossible to ignore. Feeling uncomfortable, Ethan chose to act like he didn't see it. Breakfast was hearty, congee, flatbread, and a few local side dishes. There were no more tasks scheduled for the day. Once breakfast was over, they'd pack up and return to Oak Ridge Retreat. After that, transportation would be arranged to take them home. Everything else would be planned later. Any questions? Asked the assistant director. Olivia Bennett raised her hand. Director, how's Amelia Harper? Is she out of danger? She's stable now, the director replied. She's been transferred to Williams Mayo Clinic. If any of you want to visit her, we can head there after breakfast. Olivia asked again, did we mess up the show? Can we still keep filming? Wasn't there supposed to be 3 dates total? We've only had 2. There's still the finale, the pairings, the DM matches. As she spoke, she snuck a glance at Ethan from the corner of her eye. Ethan had already gone on dates with both Victoria Harper and Grace Parker, but not her. She didn't want to miss out. Thinking about it, Ethan had been distant with her. He used to at least compliment her for her hard work, but lately, he barely spoke to her. It felt like he was avoiding her, like things had ended before they even began. We'll get back on schedule, but it'll take time. For now, just rest, don't overthink. At home, you can watch the edited episodes, post on Twitter, engage with fans. The show's really trending right now. It's the perfect time to grow your follower count. Make the most of it. That last part was aimed directly at Olivia Bennett. She had joined the show for exposure, and now that the show was blowing up, it should be exactly what she wanted. Hearing that there would still be a 3rd round of dates, Olivia got a little excited. She even considered whether she should slip the director some money to buy a date card. At the Mayo Clinic, everyone had woken up, except Amelia Harper. She looked trapped in a nightmare, her brows furrowed tight. It said that mushroom poisoning can cause hallucinations, strange, vivid illusions. This was Amelia Harper's first time experiencing it. By the time she was carried out of the tent, she was already semi-delirious, seeing trees dancing, colorful insects floating in the air, and leaves on the ground swimming like fish. Even in that state, she saw Ethan clearly in one of her hallucinations. He was standing far away, motionless, staring at her like she was a stranger, with no emotion in his eyes at all. It was as if her life or death no longer had anything to do with him. Their relationship had fallen to this point because of her, but that hadn't been her intention. She only wanted to see Ethan regret. He had once been so obedient and gentle with her, yet now he had walked away without hesitation, cleanly, as if everything he'd done before had been a lie. She kept testing him, trying to uncover the truth, but in the end, she wasn't even worth the role of a passerby. Amelia hadn't eaten much truffle. After inducing vomiting, she didn't go through with gastric lavage. She lay on the bed in a daze, hooked up 2 and 4. She'd heard truffle allergies could cause hallucinations, seeing strange shapes and creatures, but she never knew they could create such vivid dreamscapes. That night, her sleep was restless. She dreamed she was sitting at a breakfast table, filled with her favorite brunch items. The tea snacks were delicately plated, and the porridge in front of her was still steaming. The setting resembled the apartment she had once shared with Ethan, though it was larger and more warmly decorated. Handmade figurines lined the shelves beside the TV, and wind chimes made of seashells hung on the balcony. Across from her sat a man in his 30s, wearing a brown trench coat. There was a promise ring on his left ring finger. He looked mature, gentle, with a touch of refinement. Amelia couldn't make out his face clearly, but instinct told her she knew him well. The moment she saw him, a strange peace settled in her heart. She wanted to stay in this place forever. Having grown up without a mother, Amelia had always longed for a home of her own. It didn't need to be big, but it had to be warm. And this place, in every detail and every feeling, was exactly the home she'd always dreamed of. Not eating? Don't have an appetite? The man asked, placing a chubby ravioli on her plate. I'm full. No sooner had she spoken than he casually picked the ravioli back up and popped it into his mouth. I'll wash the dishes. What do you want for dinner? I want mushroom fondue. All right. I'll leave work early tonight and take you out for it. I don't want to go out. It's so hot. I'll sweat just stepping outside. And honestly, the food out there isn't as good as yours. Amelia was surprised. It was clearly her speaking, but she had no control over the words. And if she wasn't mistaken, there was even a hint of playful affection in her tone. She wondered if the man had noticed. He nodded. Then I'll cook tonight. After the meal, he got up to wash the dishes. He slipped off his promise ring and left it on the table. She picked it up and glanced at the inside of the band. Engraved were the letters ZY and X to Ethan Amelia. He was Ethan. The moment he stepped out of the kitchen, his once blurry features came into focus. He didn't look as young as in his 20s, but he had become even more attractive, calm, and refined like a bamboo grove. She walked up to him. "Are you heading straight to Harper Tower?" Ethan slipped the ring back on. "Yeah, there's a big meeting this morning. I'll go with you. You want to go to Harper Tower? I want to go shopping. You can drop me off at 5th Avenue on the way." But 5th Avenue wasn't actually on the way. It was a detour. She'd clearly made these kinds of requests before, yet Ethan didn't mind. He simply nodded and started buttoning his cuffs. His fingers weren't very nimble. Amelia walked over and helped him with the cufflinks. Her eyes fell on a scar on the back of his right hand, stretching all the way through his palm. It looked deep and painful. Why did Ethan have that scar? She didn't know. The Amelia in the dream didn't ask, either. She only looked at it quietly, her lashes trembling slightly. "Forget it. I won't go shopping. Just come back early." "Why the sudden change?" "I just don't feel like it anymore." Her voice dipped. "Then tell me what you want, and I'll bring it back after work." "Bring 2 cups of bubble tea, then. It's been a while. I want rose pure with ice." "You shouldn't drink tea at night. You'll have trouble sleeping. Your sleep's bad enough as it is." Ethan knew her well. He cared for her deeply. And even as an observer, Amelia's heart warmed. "Then you pick for me," she said, lifting her hand to straighten his tie. She watched him leave. Then she stayed home reading, watching TV. Around noon, she FaceTimed Ethan. He asked if she had eaten. With one hand holding her phone, she took the food out of the fridge. Meals he'd made earlier, packed neatly in containers. Just needed a quick microwave. No matter where she was, she always liked Ethan's cooking the best. She normally refused leftovers, but if Ethan made it, she'd eat it. Never even considered ordering takeout. In the afternoon, Amelia went out briefly and came home with a big bag of truffles. Ethan had said he'd be home at 4, but something came up and he texted that he'd be late around 6. Amelia wasn't great with her own time, but she cared a lot about others. If someone stood her up last minute, she'd be furious. But in the dream, she wasn't mad at Ethan. She understood. When the truffle delivery arrived, she carried them into the kitchen and began cleaning them with a small brush. Over 4 pounds of them. The clear water turned muddy. Even she was surprised at herself. She was actually doing this. She washed them again and again until the water ran completely clear. Then she looked up tutorials and started cooking. It was obviously her first time with someone like Ethan in the kitchen who would ever want to cook. She added some salt and tasted the broth. It was just right. Ethan was almost home, so she pulled some fruit from the fridge and made a fruit platter. At 5:50 p.m., Ethan walked in, holding 2 cups of bubble tea, one iced, one not. The iced one was honey, grapefruit, lemon tea, and the other was mango pomelo sago. Amelia touched the cup. "Why didn't you add ice?" "I wanted something cold." "You're on your period. Just bear with it." But it was exactly because of her period that she wanted something cold. She'd expected the Amelia in the dream to argue, but instead, she obediently listened. As soon as Ethan entered, he smelled the aroma wafting from the kitchen. "What are you cooking? The whole place smells amazing." Amelia said proudly, "I cooked the truffles. They should be ready to eat now." "You did? That's impressive." He looked surprised. "How long have they been cooking?" "About 40 minutes. Let them simmer a bit more. I'll go hook up the induction cooker." Ethan had not only brought bubble tea, but also ingredients for hot pot. Every time he entered the kitchen, he'd remove his promise ring, his watch, and cufflinks. He took off his coat, revealing a tailored white shirt. He washed vegetables quickly, though he now needed tools. His knife skills weren't what they used to be. There was a deep scar on his hand now. Still, he moved with practiced grace. Author's note: it's a new month. If you got Power Stones, send them my way. Let's try to hit the charts on the first day. Thank you. The wild mushrooms had already been simmering in the cast iron stove for 15 to 20 minutes. Nearly an hour had passed before Ethan finally started adding other ingredients, and then mixed up a dipping sauce for Amelia. She ate with sweat dripping down her forehead, unable to stop. Ethan, while eating himself, used the communal chopsticks to serve her food. Sometimes, Amelia would pause to look across the table at him. In the rising steam, Ethan's face looked soft and immersed, his lips lightly pressed together. The look in his eyes wasn't full of disgust like in real life, but there wasn't any affection either. Still distant, still detached, his gaze clouded like a fogged-up mirror. Halfway through the meal, Amelia began to feel dizzy and unwell. She stared at the steaming pot, and the floating vegetables inside seemed to transform into fluttering butterflies. Why are the veggies moving? It was a truffle allergy. Ethan immediately rushed her to the Mayo Clinic, staying by her side the entire night without sleep. He took a few calls during that time, some for work, some from concerned friends. When Benjamin Harper found out about the allergic reaction, he didn't even ask for details. He just tore into Ethan. The Ethan in her dream was gentle. Even when scolded, he didn't talk back, unlike the real Ethan who could shut anyone down with a few sharp words. Whether in her dream or in reality, Amelia watched him closely, a little dazed. When Ethan finally hung up and came back into the room, she snapped out of it. Benjamin Harper called to yell at you? I can explain to him. No need, he's already resting. You should get some sleep too. By the way, Daniel's coming back tomorrow after his makeup classes. Daniel? Who was Daniel? Just as Amelia was trying to make sense of it, a black vortex appeared before her eyes. Everything around her blurred, the world spinning, and then she shuddered violently and opened her eyes. All she could see was a white ceiling with the faint scent of disinfectant in the air. Was it a dream or a hallucination caused by the truffle allergy? It felt like a dream, yet it didn't. It felt real, like something that had truly happened. But how could it be? Ethan had already divorced her. He hated her now. There's no way he would live with her again, let alone speak to her calmly. And the version of herself in the dream was completely different from who she was now, someone who got along with Ethan. Maybe she just missed the Ethan from a month ago too much. That's probably why she dreamed something like that. The dream and reality were opposites, but one thing remained the same. Ethan's eyes still held no trace of love when he looked at her. Just thinking about the dream made her heart ache uncontrollably. Feeling dizzy, she sat up. A nurse came in. You're awake. Are you feeling any discomfort? Still dizzy? Nauseous? What time is it? Amelia asked. It's already 9. Where's your caregiver? Right as she spoke, a girl wearing a staff badge walked in carrying oatmeal with bacon bits. She was part of the production crew. The director had specifically arranged for a female staffer to look after Amelia. Seeing her awake, the girl quickly sent a message to the director on WhatsApp. He arrived not long after and asked how she was feeling. I'm okay. When can I be discharged? Tomorrow. Better to rest one more day. Where's Ethan? Amelia asked right away. She wasn't even sure whether it was because she cared about him or something else. They're probably getting ready to head down the mountain, the director replied. With 3 of you out, the show is on hold for now. Filming is paused, and we're extending the rest period. We'll let you know when it resumes. The director still hoped to finish filming the grand finale. But if it didn't work out, they'd have to end the show with regret. During this downtime, he planned to visit a temple, burn some incense, and do a full team overhaul. No more accidents, he hoped. They're leaving today. Amelia propped herself up. They're going back to Oak Ridge Farm, first to pack. After that, we'll arrange transport for them. Amelia seemed like she wanted to go back too, but the director quickly advised her, you should really rest another day. A truffle allergy is no joke. You and Ethan live in the same city. You'll see him again soon enough. She wasn't sure if it was because of that strange, inexplicable dream, but Amelia found herself both longing to see Ethan and dreading it. She closed her eyes, forcing her thoughts away from him. William came to mind. What about William? He left this morning. Said there was an emergency at home. He looked really anxious, so I let him go. What kind of emergency? I don't know. Maybe you should give him a call. The director handed her his phone. Amelia took it and dialed William. No answer. Maybe something really did happen. Looking around the Mayo Clinic, something felt familiar. Was William hospitalized here too? The director nodded. Yeah, he was. Did he know I was here too? I mentioned it to him. He glanced at you, made sure you were okay, then left. That was the director smoothing things over. In reality, William had just passed by the entrance, gave Amelia a quick glance, and walked away. Forget fiancé. His attitude didn't even qualify as a friend's. No one knew what urgent matter could have made him leave so coldly. Amelia found it strange, too. She was hospitalized from a truffle allergy, and William, being at the same Mayo Clinic, didn't even wait until she woke up. What kind of emergency did he have? William didn't really have a family. She had just recently acknowledged Aunt Margaret and Richard Johnson as her godparents. Could something have happened to the Johnson family? Meanwhile, Ethan and the rest had returned to Oak Ridge Farm. They didn't even have time to rest before they started packing. The assistant director went live on Twitch, explaining the incident and announcing the show's temporary suspension. He told the viewers to look forward to the official release. We'll continue posting behind-the-scenes content now and then. In the meantime, we're going to reorganize the whole team to ensure every guest's safety. There will be a grand finale. The journey's not over yet. Among the live comments, what viewers seemed most curious about was who Ethan would end up with. Would it be his ex-fiancée's younger aunt, Victoria Harper? His childhood sweetheart turned movie star, Grace Parker? Or Amelia's best friend, Olivia Bennett? Currently, the Ethan-Victoria Harper ship was trending at #1 on Twitter. Olivia Bennett was dead last. Netizens joked that Olivia had no storyline. She obviously liked Ethan, but refused to admit it. Now that the show was suddenly paused, no one knew how her arc would play out. The assistant director returned the phones to the cast and gave them their final task for the day, sending out their last round of DM matches before departure. It was their third time sending DMs and doing it right before leaving. Talk about drama. Back at the Mayo Clinic, besides Amelia, both Christopher and Logan received the task notification too. In the observation lounge, now that Amelia and William were gone, only 4 people remained. The space felt noticeably larger. They watched a rough-cut segment from the production crew, which then cut straight to the Twitch livestream, prompting the observers to comment in real time. Sophia twirled her pen and scoffed, so that's why Amelia and William suddenly disappeared. They were surprise guests for the production crew. The director really kept that under wraps. But seriously, how did the two of them even have the nerve to join? Didn't they feel ashamed facing Ethan? Don't they feel guilty? A collapsed house can be rebuilt, but theirs is razed to the ground. They've reached peak simp levels, utterly shameless, so I guess losing face doesn't scare them anymore. Regarding Amelia and William guest starring on a Twitch stream, the panelists in the observation lounge had mostly heard about it, but in this setting, even if they knew, they had to pretend they didn't. Sophia immediately started ranting. The others remained silent, and only after she'd vented for a while did the host, Liam, intervene gently. All right, let's drop it. Let's focus on the main event, the third round of Heartbeat DM matches. Who do you think will message whom? Film star Daniel Ford opened his notebook and began his analysis. I feel like Ethan and Grace Parker will message each other. They've been on a date, plus they're childhood sweethearts. Olivia Bennett will probably still message Christopher Foster. They've been interacting a lot recently, and this was their second date. Victoria Harper is a bit tricky, but personally, I think she'll message Ethan. As for Logan Prescott, he'll probably message Victoria Harper, considering their date. Profiler Nathaniel Ellis disagreed. Ethan probably won't message Grace Parker. I specifically rewatched their date video. Those two are over. There's no way they can get back to how they were. Liam sighed. It's such a shame about those two. You could say they weren't mature enough when they fell in love. The timing was just wrong. If they hadn't gotten together back then and saved the chance for today, perhaps the outcome would have been better. Daniel Ford asked, then what about Christopher Foster and Olivia Bennett? No objections to these two matching, right? This was another team challenge. They needed to get everything right to win the diamonds. All eyes turned to Nathaniel Ellis, the psychology expert. It's actually not that certain, Nathaniel began. If you look closely at the details, Olivia Bennett actually likes Ethan, but she has a contrary personality. She's unwilling to admit it, so she just picks someone else. Christopher Foster probably won't change his mind. He's quite loyal, sticks to one person once he's decided. Logan Prescott won't message Victoria Harper either. I still think it's more likely he'll message Grace Parker. His last date with Victoria Harper was just too awkward. Everyone had previously thought the Olivia Bennett connection was straightforward, but now it seemed uncertain. Sophia jumped in to answer. I can't judge the others, but Ethan and Victoria Harper must be a mutual match. Spoken like a true head shipper. Because of Sophia's insistence, the group agreed to link Victoria Harper and Ethan mutually. They tentatively decided. Grace Parker messages Ethan. Logan Prescott messages Victoria Harper. Christopher Foster messages Olivia Bennett. As for Olivia Bennett, her unpredictable nature split the panel. Liam and Daniel Ford believed she'd message Christopher Foster, while Sophia and Nathaniel Ellis insisted it would be Ethan. Sophia explained her reasoning. Olivia Bennett did message Christopher Foster the first 2 times, but anyone can see she's not interested in him. All her subtle actions indicate she likes Ethan. Being with Christopher Foster seems more like a way to test Ethan's reaction. The finale is almost here. If she doesn't show her true feelings now, she'll really end up the loser in love. It had to be said, Sophia really knew how to read people. Nathaniel Ellis nodded in agreement. Liam tapped the table, addressing Sophia. Okay, first, I agree with what you said, but aren't you forgetting something? Olivia Bennett is Amelia Harper's best friend. Would she dare send her heartbeat message to Ethan right under Amelia's nose? Why wouldn't she dare? They're total frenemies anyway. A catfight would be best. Sophia looked like she was just eager for drama. Liam was speechless. Liam's point shifted the dynamics. Nathaniel Ellis began to hesitate and was eventually persuaded. Sophia's lone insistence was futile, so they finally linked Olivia Bennett to Christopher Foster. 10 minutes later, the assistant director announced the results. Christopher Foster connected with Olivia Bennett. Logan Prescott connected with Grace Parker. Victoria Harper connected with Ethan. Grace Parker connected with Ethan. Then came the two most suspenseful results. Ethan connected with Victoria Harper. Olivia Bennett connected with Ethan. Everyone except Sophia was stunned by the outcome. Sophia pointed triumphantly at the screen. "See, what did I tell you? It's almost a finale. Time to fight for your own happiness. Olivia, you've got guts. You stood up. You finally found your lane. I admire you. Too bad my heart already belongs to Victoria Harper." Liam shook his head. "I really didn't expect that." Daniel Ford clicked his tongue. "A woman's heart is an ocean of secrets." Nathaniel Ellis chuckled. "This show is getting more and more interesting. It's a pity filming has to stop. Who knows when it'll resume." Mentioning this ticked Sophia off again. "Seriously, William and Amelia Harper, why ditch being perfectly good observers to become guest participants? The show was going fine at the start, but as soon as they showed up, trouble started. Those two jinxes, always looking for problems." Liam reached out and gently squeezed her wrist, reminding her, "Watch yourself, we're still recording." Sophia brushed it off. "This isn't a live Twitch stream. They'll edit it out later. Besides, their reputation is already terrible. So many people talk trash about them. What's one more? You're still a public figure. Maybe I'll just quit after this gig then." Was she serious or just joking? "Let's just see what messages they sent," Liam suggested, changing the subject. The participants who got their phones back returned to their private spaces and began composing their messages. Ethan opened his chat with Victoria Harper. He thought and thought, finally sending just a short sentence. "I had a great time these past 2 days." Not long after the message was sent, Ethan's phone started buzzing with notifications, pinging 3 times in quick succession. He paused, then checked. Although all 3 messages were anonymous, the content made it obvious who sent each one. Victoria Harper, "An unforgettable birthday." Grace Parker, "Let's keep in touch." Olivia Bennett, "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have misunderstood you because of what others said about before. I was wrong. I hope you can forgive me." Receiving 3 messages at once was unexpected for Ethan, but seeing them, it wasn't entirely surprising either. Reading Olivia Bennett's apology, Ethan felt strangely detached, like watching a child suddenly grow up. He had been intentionally avoiding Olivia Bennett lately. Before, he hadn't known her feelings. Now that he did, he needed to be more careful. Once the show ended, everyone would go their separate ways. It would be hard to even meet up without making an effort, and feelings fade over time. This time, all 3 women received messages. Some were troubled, others delighted. Victoria Harper looked at the brief message in her hand. The words alone might not reveal the sender, but they had attached a picture of fireflies. Thinking back to that beautiful night, Victoria Harper couldn't help but smile. Grace Parker received a message from Logan Prescott, still a greeting from his little fan. "I'll go see your new Hollywood movie during the break." Christopher Foster's message to Olivia Bennett read, "I heard from the director that we'll have a long break this time. As friends, could I treat you to a candlelit dinner at the Cheesecake Factory sometime?" Olivia Bennett kept looking at her phone, opening the message, and then closing it again. But no matter how many times she refreshed, there was still only that one message in her inbox. Although she had anticipated this, Olivia Bennett still felt deeply disappointed. Who would Ethan send his heartbeat message to? She had a feeling it would be Victoria Harper. Ethan had sent her the first heartbeat message. If she hadn't been so difficult back then, would she have received his messages these last 2 times as well? He had explained that the reason he messaged her the first time was because he knew she wouldn't choose him. If she told Ethan now that she didn't mind him using her as a shield, would he start messaging her again? Would he ask her out on his own? After completing the final task, the staff returned the personal phones to the participants. Ethan took his phone, turned it on, and saw 99+ notifications. Clicking through, he found most were missed calls from Margaret Johnson. Sometimes she'd call hundreds of times in a single day, and there were too many text messages to even begin reading. These messages weren't worth looking at. He cleared all unread notifications with one tap. Ethan opened his email. Compared to the flood of texts, his inbox only held a few messages. After a quick scan, he clicked on anonymous email. "Mr. Johnson, I found the psychologist from 10 years ago. Some relevant files have been sent to your private email. I found what you asked me to look into, Ethan," the investigator said. "The psychiatrist who treated Margaret Johnson 19 years ago is currently in Cedar Springs. I've already sent part of the information to your email. The rest would only be handed over once Ethan paid the remaining balance." Ethan opened the file. Name, Alan Murphy. Age, 50. Graduated from a well-known university's psychology department. After graduation, he opened the Mind and Body Wellness Center, but it soon went bankrupt, leaving him deep in debt. Later, he got to know Richard Johnson through certain connections and eventually became the Johnson family's private physician, mainly offering therapy to Margaret Johnson. He worked for the Johnsons for 7 years. The year Margaret had her breakdown and killed her daughter, he was still employed by them. He witnessed it and had evidence. Ethan should never have known any of this, but in his previous life, Richard Johnson had revealed everything to him in a drunken stupor. Now that he was reborn, the more leverage he had to sever ties with the Johnson family, the better. So right after breaking off the engagement, he hired a private investigator, Murphy, who had been famous in his past life but was still unknown in this one. The results exceeded expectations. In just a month, the investigator had gathered detailed information on Murphy. Ethan replied with a brief thanks and wired the remaining $90,000. Although the recording wasn't finished yet, the production crew had already sent Ethan a share of the profits, $5 million. Ethan texted the director, "Are you sure I'm really getting this much? Is there a mistake?" "No mistake. You've earned every cent." Since the director insisted it was rightfully his, Ethan accepted the money. He needed it. Still, he couldn't take goodwill for granted. "If you ever need a favor, just ask." The director replied cheerfully, "Pleasure working with you." After returning to Rosewood City, Ethan dropped his bags off and threw all the clothes he'd brought back into the washing machine. A month away had left his place coated in dust. Without resting, he began cleaning right away. He worked all afternoon, from daylight to darkness. By the time he looked at the clock, it was already 8 p.m. He made a quick bowl of noodles for dinner. No cameras, no crew, just peace and quiet. He could do whatever he wanted. After a long, satisfying shower, he booked a ticket to Cedar Springs. The flight left at 10 a.m. The next morning, some things were better dealt with sooner. The flight to Cedar Springs took 2 hours. Upon landing, Ethan turned off airplane mode. A text popped up from Olivia Bennett. "What are you doing? Got time to hang out?" Ethan replied, "No time." Shortly after, Victoria Harper called. Ethan was caught off guard. His brain hadn't even registered the call before his hand answered it. "Have you eaten?" Victoria asked. "Already ate on the plane." "On the plane? You just got home and you're flying out again?" "Heading to Cedar Springs. Got some things to take care of." "Dinner felt weird without you," she said sleepily, her voice lazy and soft. "When you come back to Rosewood City, can you do me a favor?" "Sure. What is it?" he said without hesitation. Victoria chuckled lightly. "Help me move. That's all. I'll hang up now. Sounds noisy where you are. Be careful out there. I'll be waiting at home. Bye." She hung up so fast that Ethan didn't even get to say goodbye. He set his phone down, the corner of his mouth lifting slightly. Alan Murphy lived in a small town outside Cedar Springs. It was another 2-hour drive. Ethan stopped in front of an old apartment building. Behind it was the Maplewood Medical Center. Checking his phone for confirmation, he headed inside. "I'm here to see Dr. Murphy. Is he in?" "He's off today. Could you call him for me? Just tell him someone named Johnson is here waiting. If he doesn't want to come, I'll wait at his house." 10 minutes later, Ethan was sitting across from an aging man with graying hair. Alan Murphy didn't look 50, more like 60. Overweight, deep wrinkles on his face, dull eyes, and yellowed fingernails, the result of years of heavy smoking. "You're that Johnson kid. How did you find me?" Murphy asked, pulling a cigarette from his pack, his trembling hands betraying his unease. "Richard Johnson once mentioned you when he was drunk. I remembered and hired a private investigator, Murphy, to dig into your past. I was too young back then to remember clearly. But you weren't. You were 24, old enough to remember everything. Like the saying goes, guilty deeds always catch up with you eventually. How much longer did you plan to stay silent?" Thud. The cigarette pack slipped from Murphy's hand and hit the floor. He couldn't meet Ethan's gaze, curling into himself. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Dr. Murphy, a doctor should have a conscience. When your clinic went under, you used Johnson family money to pay off your debts. It saved your family. Now you live comfortably. Your son's in the military, your daughter's a nurse." Murphy snapped his head up, clearly panicked. "What do you want?" "I want the truth. I want justice. I want to clear my name, the one I've carried for 19 years. But you already know the truth. Why push me for more?" Ethan let out a cold laugh. "Because they won't stop. They want me to carry this guilt forever. And you know exactly what they're capable of, Dr. Murphy." He stared hard at the older man. "Don't worry. I didn't come here to punish you or expose you to your family." It wasn't hard for Ethan to strike at Murphy's weak spot. Murphy sat in turmoil for a long time. Finally, he stood, shuffled to a corner cabinet, unlocked a drawer, and took out a stack of documents and a USB drive. He handed it all to Ethan. Ethan flipped through the files. They included a full report on Margaret Johnson's mental condition. "Your sister wasn't the one who pushed the child off the balcony. It was your mother, Margaret Johnson. After she did it, your father, Richard Johnson, covered up the scene. and I was part of it. I'm so sorry. Murphy's eyes welled up with tears. Was she in her right mind when she killed her daughter? Ethan asked. She was. To kill her own child for her husband's attention. That was a darkness few could fathom. Even though Ethan had long since detached himself emotionally, he still felt a chill run through his bones. Even after all these years, the memories remained vivid. Alan Murphy had lived in guilt ever since, consumed by it, unable to escape. Ethan's sudden appearance terrified him, but also set him free. Maybe Murphy had kept that evidence all these years for this very moment. Ethan stood and said calmly, I've heard your apology, but I don't forgive you. In his past life, he had been kept in the dark, condemned, controlled, and forced to submit. He had never known freedom. If his grandmother hadn't dragged him away 19 years ago, he might not have survived. Now that he knew the truth, he was able to face this moment with chilling calm. Was this evidence kept out of guilt? Perhaps, but it was mostly self-preservation. And Richard Johnson hadn't covered for Margaret Johnson his whole life out of love, but because concealing a crime scene was, in itself, a crime. Ethan booked the latest possible flight. Back home, he turned on his computer and plugged in the USB drive. Listening to the recording inside churned his stomach. I didn't mean to kill her. But who told my husband to call her his little darling? I just love my husband too much. Ever since I had the baby, he got busier and busier, often not coming home. Every time he called, he'd ask about our daughter first. When he came home, he'd hold her first. They say a daughter is her father's little sweetheart from a past life. Isn't that just like a homewrecker? I actually gave birth to a little homewrecker. If she just disappeared, my husband would only love me. When I picked her up, she was still smiling at me. She called me mommy. Everyone in the family said she was adorable, but I found her disgusting. Dr. Murphy, is there something wrong with me? I have to be first, and I have to be the only one. I won't allow anyone I care about to care about someone else, even if it's someone I gave birth to. It wasn't me who killed her, it was Ethan. Big brother killed little sister. He was just jealous of her, jealous that mommy and daddy loved her. Ethan was always a bad kid. Dr. Murphy, I don't understand what you're saying. How could I have killed Catherine? Catherine is my daughter. A mother always loves her child. How could she bear to hurt her? I'll say it again. Catherine was carried onto the balcony and dropped by Ethan. He did it on purpose. He has to atone for this. She didn't even need a psychiatrist. She'd brainwashed herself, shifted all the blame onto him, and faded into the background. As for Richard Johnson, he knew too. He knew Margaret Johnson, consumed by jealousy of her own daughter, had consciously thrown the child off the balcony to her death. To save face, he covered up the truth, cooperating with Margaret Johnson's feigned madness and illness to maintain a facade of peace. After listening to the recording, Ethan felt so sickened he couldn't sleep all night. His biological clock, steady for so long since his rebirth, was disrupted for the first time. Normally up at 6 a.m., today he only fell asleep at 6. He managed 3 hours of groggy sleep before being woken by noise from next door. Ethan's eyes snapped open. It was already bright outside. He pulled open the curtains and made himself a bowl of oatmeal. His apartment building had 4 units per floor serviced by 2 elevators. Ethan had only just moved in, and the adjacent apartment had been empty. He hadn't inquired about it. He didn't think much of someone suddenly moving in. Today, Ethan's schedule was packed. He currently had $5 million in his account. Not even pocket change compared to the Johnson family fortune. His rebirth timing was excellent, coinciding with the redevelopment of Rosewood City's new district. Within the next month, both housing and land prices were set to skyrocket exponentially. To make quick money during this period, flipping real estate was undoubtedly the best option. The strategy was to create the impression of high demand for newly built properties, making them seem like hot commodities in short supply, then buy low and sell high at the peak price. Getting rich overnight wasn't just a dream. Flipping houses wasn't exactly an upright way to make money, but Ethan's only rule was not to flip properties to genuine homebuyers. If he was going to fleece anyone, it would be his competitors, like Harper Enterprises and their circle of associated businessmen. He had no qualms about inflating prices and selling high to them. Ethan invested $5 million to play the real estate market, the money flowing out like water. In his past life, Ethan had also seized the real estate opportunity, but suppressed by the Johnson family, he hadn't dared to gamble. He'd been timid and cautious, pulling out after making a small profit. This life, he was going all in. He would be the one pulling the strings, seizing control. While buying property, Ethan noticed the old junkyard in the old district was for sale. It was the size of a football field. He bought it outright $4 $5 million. It looked like an insignificant dump now, But once the new district expanded, each square meter would be worth a fortune. After the day's spending, he had $5 million left. Using his memories, he found channels for sports betting, placing various bets until he had $500,000 remaining to take home. He'd left in the morning and only returned at night. When Ethan got back, apartment 1602 next door was quiet, showing no signs of recent occupancy. Ethan entered his apartment, changed his shoes, and started boiling water to cook, his mind racing. He recalled Victoria Harper asking for his help moving yesterday and connected it to the noises from next door this morning. Could his new neighbor be Victoria Harper? The more coincidental something seemed, the more likely it was something she'd orchestrate. As if summoned by his thoughts, Victoria Harper called. Ethan felt a jolt. He answered the phone, and Victoria Harper's voice was as gentle and smiling as ever. Ethan, I'm starving, and I haven't eaten yet. Can I come over and bum a meal? Ethan turned off the stove. I just got home myself, haven't cooked yet. I was just going to make some simple oatmeal porridge. He hadn't expected her to come over, especially since it was already late. I know a good takeout place. I can order for you. But I don't want takeout. If I asked you to come over and help me move right now, would you? Ethan glanced out the window, already walking towards the main door. Where are you now? I'm right outside your door. Her voice from outside reached him a split second before it came through the phone. Ethan paused, then abruptly pulled the door open. Victoria Harper stood there, arms crossed, smiling brightly at him. Hey neighbor, can I come a meal now? I can handle oatmeal porridge with savory sides too. I won't complain as long as you made it. Upon his return, William went straight to find Sophia. He wanted to have a serious talk with her, but unexpectedly, she asked him to meet her outside for a movie. William had no choice but to disguise himself, making sure he wouldn't be recognized before meeting her. Sophia was heavily pregnant. Compared to 8 months ago, she had changed quite a bit. Her once long hair was cut short, reaching her shoulders. She had put on some weight, but had a healthy complexion. Even though William was thoroughly disguised, Sophia recognized him instantly, waving from afar. William's face was cold. Keep it down. I don't want to be recognized. Relax. No one besides me would recognize you. Sophia produced 2 movie tickets. I've already picked up the tickets. Let's go in. William stood frozen. Sophia linked her arm through his intimately, appearing like a young couple to onlookers. I haven't seen a movie in ages. Watch this one with me, and then we'll talk properly. William couldn't possibly lose his temper in such a public place, so he suppressed his anger and went along with her for now. Sophia had chosen a movie. Only when it started playing did William realize which one it was. It was a suspense drama based on a true story, depicting a woman who was deceived, experienced marriage fraud, financial scams, domestic violence, pregnancy, and miscarriage, before finally dismembering her abuser and successfully getting her revenge. Sophia deliberately took him to see this movie. It was clearly a pointed reference to him. By the end, a thin layer of cold sweat had broken out on William's back. In the dim light, Sophia took his hand and asked, William, are you scared by movies like this? William forcefully pulled his hand back, his face tight. It's fine. Sophia continued. Didn't the man in the movie deserve to die? Cheating scumbags never meet a good end. If I were the woman in the film, I'd be even more ruthless. I would have gotten revenge the first time he laid a hand on me. Women are too easily fooled. When they love a man, he's all they see, like they tear their own hearts out for him. But once their hearts are broken, they won't hesitate to strike back, and they won't show any mercy. Sophia patted her belly. The baby moved. Seems like he agrees with me. She really is crazy. William had entertained thoughts of killing her before coming here. As the old saying goes, only the dead pose no threat. Outside the cinema, William's expression was even darker than before. The movie's over. Can we talk properly now? Sophia, what do you really want? Sophia stated plainly, I made it clear on the phone. Either give me money or give me status. The baby in my belly is already 34 weeks along. Getting an abortion is out of the question. Besides, could you bear to do that? This is your son. What wouldn't he bear? He had no feelings for Sophia. He wished she and the baby would both die. A one corpse, two live situation. If she died, the threat would be gone. William had come here harboring murderous intent, prepared for the worst. Clearly, she understood men well, which was why she brought him to this movie, to warn him not to act rashly. Sophia wasn't as weak as he thought. If truly provoked, even a bunny will bite. Pushing her to a point of mutual destruction wouldn't be worth it. As for Sophia, her original plan had been to wait until after the baby was born to negotiate with William. She was gambling on William's conscience, betting that he would grow fond of the child. William, as a trending young actor whose career was on the rise, wouldn't get involved in a relationship at such a critical juncture. So Sophia had thought she had plenty of time to make detailed plans, using the child to tie herself firmly to William and make him take responsibility for her. But plans rarely keep up with reality. She never expected William to get together with Amelia. Compared to Amelia, what was she? She had been William's assistant for a year and knew very well that Amelia was his white moonlight, the unattainable love. The cherished daughter of Harper Enterprises, beautiful and rich. William's smooth sailing to this point was inextricably linked to her. If Amelia was a cloud in the sky, then she was mud on the ground. William only ever seemed to notice her when he fell into the mire himself. Amelia had previously been arranged to marry into the Johnson family, but the engagement was now off. With just a beckoning gesture, she could summon William to her side. After seeing the Twitch stream of William and Amelia's engagement announcement, Sophia couldn't sit still any longer. So she had no choice but to advance her plan, calling William beforehand to arrange a meeting. She didn't want to push things this far, but she had to think about herself and the child. Outwardly, Sophia appeared calm, but inwardly, she was in turmoil. William looked at Sophia's belly. At 8 months, it was large, stretching the fabric of her loose dress. "Can I touch it?" William quickly composed himself while looking at her belly. He decided to placate Sophia first, keep her from doing anything rash. Women produce a lot of estrogen during pregnancy, and the fetus stimulates maternal instincts. They become soft and sensitive during this time, making them easier to coax. Of course, Sophia's lips curved upwards. She seemed genuinely happy. William slowly reached out and placed his hand on Sophia's belly. Something moved inside. His heart gave a slight, almost imperceptible flutter, easily ignored. Sophia grasped William's hand. "The baby's head is about here. He can feel you touching him." Sophia was probably trying to stir some fatherly affection in William. But paternal love doesn't bloom so easily, especially not from a man who doesn't love you. Stroking her belly, William said, "When you told me on the phone about the baby, I didn't feel much. I just thought this child came at the wrong time, that it was trouble. But now, I want to give him a home. My parents divorced when I was very young. My dad raised me, and just as things were starting to look up, he died in a car accident. I lost my mom, then my dad. So, ever since I was little, I've wished I could have grown up in a complete family, loved by both parents. I don't want my child to go through the hardships I did. Sophia, don't worry. I won't let our child be illegitimate." A pack of lies, yet he delivered them with such sincerity. The key point was Sophia actually believed him. "You're willing to marry me? I will marry you." Before Sophia could feel happy, he continued, "But not right now." Sophia's face instantly turned cold. "Then what do you mean?" "Don't be anxious." William moved closer, putting an arm around Sophia's shoulder in a feigned gesture of intimacy, pulling her into a comforting embrace. "I didn't know you were pregnant at first. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have gotten engaged to Amelia. Things are a bit complicated now. I need time to sort them out." His words didn't reassure Sophia. She remained wary. "How are you going to sort it out? And how long do I have to wait?" "Don't rush me. Just listen to my explanation," William said patiently. "If our relationship is exposed now, Harper Enterprises definitely won't let me off. They'll blacklist me, make it impossible for me to survive in this industry. Then I'll have to pay breach of contract fees for all the endorsements and gigs I've signed. It'll add up to a mountain of debt. Could you bear to have the child only for us to struggle and starve together?" Sophia frowned. "But haven't you already been accepted by the Johnson family? Richard Johnson and his wife are your godparents, right? Would Harper Enterprises still move against you?" William sighed. "You don't understand. The Johnson family only acknowledged me because of Harper Enterprises to give them face. It sounds good. Makes me look acceptable, like I'm worthy of Amelia on the surface. But in reality, without money or power, they still don't take me seriously. So, according to you, as long as Harper Enterprises has you under their thumb, you can never marry me?" "That's about right. So we face two choices. First, I marry Amelia, and I secretly support you and our son. Once Harper Enterprises can no longer threaten me, I'll immediately divorce Amelia and marry you. A man's promises of later, his guaranteed future, worthless," Sophia said coldly. "And the second option?" "The second is to wait until I inherit the Johnson family trust." Sophia forced a smile. "How could an adopted son like you possibly inherit the Johnson family trust? You said it yourself. The Johnsons only took you in as a godson because of Harper Enterprises. You have nothing. That was before. It's different now." "How is it different?" "They have their own biological son. Why would they give it to an outsider instead of him?" They really can't give it to Ethan, William said, his face dark. Ethan's a murderer. He killed his own sister. Margaret Johnson hates Ethan's guts. There's no way she'd leave the fortune to him. Sophia's eyes widened in disbelief. Something like that happened? Is that true? William replied. Of course it's true. Margaret Johnson told me herself. I even have a recording. Sophia hesitated. But even so, he's still their biological son. What if they have another child, or there's an illegitimate one somewhere? That's even less likely, William stated. Sophia was still wondering why it was impossible when William let out two short laughs. Richard Johnson. He's finished. He can't ever have children again. The Johnson family truly lurched from one crisis to another. Dangers seemed to lurk everywhere. William looked at her earnestly. As long as I inherit the entire Johnson family fortune, even if Harper Enterprises comes after me, I'll have plenty left over after paying any company penalties. Enough for us to live comfortably for the rest of our lives. Sophia, for our son, for me, just endure a little longer. Think about it carefully. Why did you want to have this baby in the first place? Wasn't it to have a better life? To give him a complete family, free from worry about food and clothing, a head start from day one. You grew up poor. You understand better than anyone how hard it is. Life without money is too difficult. You have to start everything from the bottom, and people look down on you. I'll give you $1. $5 million right now. You can use it to do whatever you want. We could buy clothes for the baby first, a cradle, a bunny plush, baby supplies. For the rest, I remember you always wanted to open a cupcake bakery. How about I help you set it up? William was a master of adrenaline bonding, playing pitiful first, then resorting to guilt trips. Pregnant women were often the most soft-hearted. Sophia's expression softened, persuaded by William's words, one after another. She tried to see things from his perspective and found his reasoning sound. Besides, he remembered her dream of opening a bakery, which meant she was on his mind. Sophia remained silent. In just a few seconds of distraction, she let down all her defenses and chose to trust this man. Seeing Sophia's expression relax, William decisively took out his phone and transferred the money. The $1. $5 million stung, but without bleeding a little cash, persuading Sophia wouldn't be easy. After the transfer, William coaxed Sophia to sit down. One moment he was rubbing her belly, the next he was leaning in, trying to hear the baby's movements. He played the part of the doting father to perfection. You must be hungry. Let's eat first. What do you like? Does the mom-to-be have any dietary restrictions? Tell me. I'll be sure to remember. After we eat, we can walk around the neighborhood, see if there are any suitable spots to open that bakery. Sophia, increasingly pliant under his coaxing, had lost her earlier firmness. She answered whatever William asked. The baby's due soon. I won't have time to open a shop. You can hire a few clerks to manage it. You can just relax and be the proprietress. Sophia, thoroughly charmed and placated, had thrown all her caution to the wind. William drove Sophia home. Her place wasn't remote. It was a Brooklyn brownstone with a bus stop nearby and a farmer's market right at the entrance to the complex. Too many people, too many eyes, making it difficult for him to act. It was a typical rental, mostly housing young professionals drawn by the cheaper rent. William said with feigned concern, "Let me find you a new place. This environment is too poor, and it's not safe for you to live here alone. I'm worried. How about this? I'll rent a small house for you. Hire 2 dedicated housemaids to take care of you, handle your meals and daily needs. What do you think?" Held in William's embrace, Sophia completely missed the calculating look in his eyes. Immersed in his tender affection, she believed the man had genuinely had a change of heart and would give her a home. She nodded obediently. "Whatever you say." After dropping Sophia off, William went to the Johnson residence that evening. Richard Johnson was still at the Mayo Clinic. Only Margaret Johnson was in the villa, under 24-hour guard, forbidden contact with the outside world. Margaret Johnson was having daily meltdowns, smashing things, screaming abuse. Before William even entered the house, he heard crashing sounds from within. He steadied himself, controlled his emotions, and walked inside. The villa staff all addressed him as young Master William. William noticed that all the Johnson family servants had been replaced with men, even the former cook, Annie. Margaret Johnson must have ordered the change. The living room was a mess. Servants were cleaning up. William asked Mr. Stevens, "Where's my godmother? Is she all right?" "The madam is upstairs." Just as he finished speaking, a loud crash echoed from the upper floor, followed by Margaret Johnson's shriek from the spiral staircase. "Where's Ethan? When is he coming back? Why isn't he back yet? Is he like his father? Got someone outside, so he won't even come home anymore?" "Godmother." Hearing William call her, Margaret Johnson froze for 3 seconds, then rushed down the stairs, eyes bloodshot. She bent over, grabbing William's hand with surprising force, her furious red eyes fixed on him. "You're finally back. Didn't you say you'd bring Ethan back? Where is he?" "Where?" William put on a troubled expression. "Godmother, I seriously tried to persuade Ethan. He said he'd rather die out there than come home." "He's really not coming back? How could Ethan not come back? Who would she vent her anger on if he didn't return? He had to stay in this house, forever, subjected to her torment." William sighed sadly. "I even told him you were sick, asked him to come back and see you, to show some concern. Who knew? He actually cursed you, said something about wishing you and Uncle Johnson would die together. He even mentioned, 'You're deceased, Catherine.'" Margaret Johnson gasped. "What did he say?" "He said, 'Good riddance.' Said he couldn't stand you two for a long time, and he absolutely won't drop the lawsuit." William fabricated freely, trying to push Margaret Johnson's fury to its peak. People lose control when pushed to extreme anger. As expected, Margaret Johnson flew into a rage, screaming curses. "How dare he say that? He's a demon." Her grip tightened painfully on his hand. William endured the pain, adopting a comforting tone. "Yes, he's a demon. He doesn't deserve to be your son. He killed his own sister, and now he curses his own parents. Ethan is simply inhuman. For someone as inhuman as him, we should leak his crimes to TMZ, get him arrested and brought to justice. That way, Ethan can never come back," William thought with anticipation. Step by step, William coaxed her, using a gentle tone to persuade Margaret Johnson. Her condition looked terrifying, but she was just a madwoman, and a mentally unstable madwoman was the easiest to brainwash. "Yes, leak it to TMZ. I want everyone to condemn him. Serves him right for not coming home, for not listening to me." This wasn't just a path to survival. It was the road to victory. He would crush Ethan into the mud, step over his body, and climb to the very top. He would relish the honor, the money, the thrill that power brought. At first, he had only been jealous of Ethan, jealous of his good fortune, being born into the prestigious Johnson family, where everything came effortlessly. Ethan had it all, got everything he ever wanted. But now it wasn't just jealousy. It was hatred, the beatings, the poisoning. Ethan had humiliated him time and time again. Just thinking about it made William grind his teeth. He swore he would get his revenge, leave Ethan with nothing, make his life a living hell. He recorded a video of Margaret. To make it more convincing, he'd even put makeup on her to make her look haggard, not crazed at all. He had planned to stay and keep Margaret company that night, but unexpectedly, Benjamin Harper called, summoning him to Harper Enterprises. Left with no choice, William coaxed Margaret back to her bedroom to rest. Only after she had fallen asleep did he dare to leave by car. At Harper Enterprises, Benjamin Harper was in his study. William used to live here, so he knew the place well and didn't need anyone to show him the way. Seeing Benjamin Harper, William held his breath. This was the man he feared most. Benjamin Harper picked up his teacup. "Have you eaten?" "Yes, I have." Benjamin Harper asked him, "Why didn't you come back with Amelia?" William could clearly sense Benjamin Harper's displeasure. It made sense. After much persuasion, Benjamin had entrusted his daughter to him. They had just gotten engaged when they left together for the production crew's location filming, but only William had returned. Meanwhile, his daughter was still laid up in the Mayo Clinic due to a truffle allergy, without a single familiar face around. How could Benjamin Harper not suspect that William didn't truly care about Amelia? "Uncle Hayes, Amelia is still at the Mayo Clinic. I left the driver and her security detail with her. I only left after making sure she was all right. I rushed back because something urgent came up. What could possibly be more urgent than my daughter?" Benjamin Harper's voice was low, carrying an authority that commanded respect without overt anger. The imposing pressure almost made William lose his composure. He didn't dare try any tricks in front of Benjamin Harper and quickly said, "Uncle Hayes, please don't be angry yet. Let me show you a video." He took out his phone. The video he showed Benjamin Harper was the one he had recorded of Margaret half an hour earlier. A haggard Margaret faced the camera, accusing Ethan of killing his younger sister in childhood, claiming that because he had killed his sister, his parents had neglected him all these years. Seeing his face only reminded them of their dead daughter, filling them with resentment towards him. Benjamin Harper felt something was off, though he couldn't quite pinpoint what. After watching, he fell silent. He had heard rumors about the Johnson family's daughter who died young, knew it was said to be an accident, but he never imagined such a dark secret lay behind it. Simply because he was jealous that his sister received more parental affection, he harbored resentment and pushed her down the stairs. Could a child only a couple of years younger really be that jealous? If that were true, it would explain why Richard and Margaret Johnson treated Ethan so coldly. To have taken a life at such a young age, killing his own sister with his own hands. Without seeing this video, Benjamin Harper would have found it hard to believe. Are you sure it's real? William said earnestly. It should be. It would also explain why Mr. Johnson abandoned Ethan for 11 years and disliked him even after taking him back. It's because he committed an unforgivable act that his parents despise him. Indeed, Benjamin Harper put down the phone. After pondering for a moment, he asked, "When you saw Ethan, did you talk to him about dropping the lawsuit?" "We did. He refused to drop it and even beat me up." William said this while furtively observing Benjamin Harper's expression. Not only that, he instigated Victoria Harper to hit Amelia. Amelia's face was all swollen. "What?" Benjamin Harper shot up from his seat, pushing his chair back, his eyes wide with fury. William looked guilt-stricken. "Uncle Hayes, I'm so sorry. I failed to protect Amelia." Benjamin Harper hadn't expected this outcome. He had assumed Ethan still had some feelings for Amelia, that if they talked things over properly, not only could they get the lawsuit dropped, but they might also find out who the boss of Yain Group was. He thought the worst-case scenario would be a failed negotiation, ending on bad terms. He never imagined Ethan and Victoria Harper would be audacious enough to assault someone on the production set. This was utterly outrageous. Benjamin Harper's breathing grew heavy with anger. His gaze fell darkly on the phone on the table as he told William, "Forward that video to me. I'll handle things from here. You just need to stay by Amelia's side and take good care of her." This was exactly what William wanted. He nodded in agreement. He added a reminder, "Uncle Hayes, it might be best not to let Amelia know about this. She still thinks of her and Ethan as childhood sweethearts. Finding out would upset her." Benjamin Harper frowned slightly. "All right, I understand." Having accomplished 2 major goals in one day, William felt refreshed and elated, almost giddy. He'd be smiling in his sleep tonight. With Benjamin Harper taking action, Ethan was bound to suffer severely, even if it didn't kill him. Since Victoria Harper moved in next door, life had changed. Even though they weren't officially together, it felt very much like they were cohabitating. Victoria Harper would knock on Ethan's door first thing in the morning to eat oatmeal with bacon bits at his place. After finishing, she'd linger, treating his home as if it were her own, wandering around and looking at everything. She wouldn't just stay for breakfast, but lunch too, and dinner was practically guaranteed. And she didn't just eat. She was picky, always ordering her favorite Cajun cuisine. After dinner, they'd go for a walk downstairs, and upon returning, she'd follow Ethan right back into his apartment. She'd kick off her shoes, plop down barefoot on his sofa, turn on the TV, and lounge lazily. When bored, she'd call Ethan over to watch with her. She even brought her work over to Ethan's place, handling it without any reservations around him. Once, when Ethan had finished making lunch and called her to eat, he walked closer and found her in the middle of a Zoom meeting. Ethan's home purchase contracts were casually left out on his desk, and Victoria Harper happened to come across them. "You bought property recently?" "Yes, bought some." "Some?" Victoria Harper was curious. "How much did you buy?" "I plan to speculate on the real estate market." "That $5 million I borrowed from you?" "I invested all of it." Victoria Harper raised an eyebrow. She understood instantly, needing no further explanation from Ethan. Ethan didn't hide anything, explaining the anticipated upward trend in the future real estate market to Victoria. Speculating in real estate was risky. Fortunes could be made overnight, but many also went bankrupt just as quickly. Hearing that Ethan had poured the entire $5 million into it, Victoria Harper showed no surprise. Instead, she asked, "Need more money? Want to add some more to the pot? Aren't you afraid I'll lose it all?" "If you lose it, you lose it. It's not like we can't afford it." Victoria Harper had reached her current position by making far wilder bets than this. Ethan's $5 million was small potatoes compared to her ventures. To make real money, you had to be bold, break the mold. Every industry has its moments of reshuffling. You need guts to succeed. The fact that Ethan dared to make such a move showed he had confidence and a solid basis for it. If you want to strike it rich, you have to seize the right opportunity. Ethan didn't just want to make money for himself. He wanted to use this chance to screw over Harper Enterprises. Harper Enterprises has channels for this sort of thing, too. Greed knows no bounds. Faced with a mountain of gold, he refused to believe Benjamin Harper wouldn't be tempted. Victoria instantly understood Ethan was setting a trap for Benjamin Harper. Flipping real estate could lead to explosive wealth, but it could just as easily lead to utter ruin. If Benjamin Harper really took the bait, even if he wasn't bankrupted, it would make his life difficult from then on. This wasn't just about losing face. It was about cutting flesh and breaking bone. Victoria hadn't been interested in property speculation before, but now her interest was piqued. So, as Ethan continued, Victoria listened intently. When the topic turned to the real estate industry, something occurred to Ethan. He'd overheard Victoria mention Westbrook District during her meeting earlier. In his past life, that Westbrook District land deal had been a massive failure, directly causing a corporation to collapse with a loss of $1.5 billion. Don't touch the land in Westbrook District, he warned. It's substandard, not worth the price. Victoria realized Ethan was full of surprises. How'd he seem to know everything, as if it was all under his control? I won't touch it. I sold it to Harper Enterprises at a premium. That's good. You have my support. Just then his phone rang. Ethan visibly froze for a second when he saw the caller ID, Benjamin Harper. Speak of the devil. He'd blocked so many people back then, but forgotten to block him. Victoria glanced down, saw the name, and raised an eyebrow slightly. Ethan answered the call, his tone distant and cold. Mr. Harper, what is it? There was a moment of silence. Clearly, the person on the other end was taken aback too. Ethan, did Amelia mention dropping the lawsuit to you? He knew the call had a purpose. The tone gave away the ill intentions. She mentioned it. I refused. Not very old, but quite audacious, aren't you? Ethan, let me remind you, being too greedy can lead to misfortune. You're still young. Why insist on crashing headfirst into a wall? I only wanted to talk this through properly out of respect for your father. I've already severed ties with the Johnson family. You don't need to talk to me out of respect for anyone. Ethan wouldn't budge, his stance firm. Benjamin Harper's voice turned cold instantly. No matter what path you take in life, gratitude is essential. Filial piety is the foremost virtue. A person who won't even acknowledge their own parents is destined not to go far. Business is about profit. Don't think that just because Yang Group helped you once, you've latched onto a powerful backer. Youngsters like you, with nothing to offer, can be helped casually and discarded just as casually. I'm willing to talk nicely to you. Don't refuse a kindness offered. Ethan ignored the threat. Mr. Harper, how long has it been since you looked in a mirror? Your face is practically black with foulness. Who'd want that? Ethan. Benjamin Harper was infuriated by his impudence and decided to play his trump card. Killed your own sister at 5 years old. If I were to leak this to TMZ, what do you think the outcome would be for you? Universal condemnation or facing legal consequences? Ethan, who had been feeling listless, suddenly perked up at this. He feigned compromise, asking, what do you want? First, drop the lawsuit. Admit you wronged my daughter first, and publicly apologize to Harper Enterprises. Second, introduce me to the boss of Yang Group. He helped you so much, I refuse to believe you don't know him. The way he twisted the truth was so blatant Ethan almost felt like applauding. Then leak it. I'll be waiting. With that, Ethan hung up. Meeting Victoria's worried gaze, his expression was relaxed. Don't worry, I'll be fine. I have evidence. They can't threaten me. Victoria naturally wasn't worried about something Ethan hadn't done. She was just thinking about his past, and her heart ached for him. What I'm curious about now, Ethan mused, is where Benjamin Harper heard this information. Victoria asked, could Richard Johnson have told him? He wouldn't dare. Ethan had already confronted Richard Johnson about it. Richard's guilty conscience wouldn't let him speak up. This could only have come from Margaret Johnson. But everyone in the villa had signed NDAs. Margaret, no matter how unstable, wouldn't call Benjamin Harper to tell him. That left only one person who could have spread it. Ethan immediately knew William. It seemed Margaret Johnson's madness had worsened recently. She was becoming increasingly confused about who had actually killed her daughter. If Benjamin Harper had just calmed down and thought about it, he'd realized that if this threat actually worked, Richard Johnson would have used it long ago. Why would he wait for Benjamin? Benjamin Harper said, I killed my own sister. Do you believe that? Ethan asked, a hint of apprehension in his voice. I don't believe it. Do you want to know about my past? If you want to tell me, I'll listen. If you don't, then don't. Victoria respected Ethan's decision. Honestly, she wasn't curious about his past. She only cared about the person he was now. No amount of gossip or rumors could diminish his place in her heart. Ethan still told Victoria. His expression was calm, as if recounting someone else's story. They said I killed my sister out of jealousy, that I threw her off the second-floor balcony. They hated me. They beat me, cursed me, wished I'd suffer a fate worse than death. She wanted me to pay with my life, but wouldn't let me die. She said a murderer like me didn't deserve to be loved. Victoria could almost see it. A young Ethan, lost and helpless, curled in a corner, trying desperately to make himself invisible, wanting to hide, only to be dragged out. Stripped naked and exposed to the sun, forced to endure hunger and cold. At 5, He was too young to understand why his parents suddenly stopped loving him. At 19, when he was brought back to the Johnson family, he wasn't met with warmth, but with a prison. No, something colder than any prison. He felt like a death row inmate pushed onto the execution platform, surrounded by firing squads. His life had been so filled with despair. Victoria's heart ached even more. She suddenly stood up and hugged Ethan tightly, holding him close, patting his back, ruffling his hair, trying through him to embrace the 5-year-old Ethan. Ethan's body went from stiff to slowly relaxing into the embrace. Listening to Victoria's heartbeat, his emotions felt steadier than ever before. Victoria's voice came from above him. "Ethan, if I had been there when the tragedy happened, I would have immediately hugged you like this, covered your eyes and ears, and quickly taken you away from that bloody scene. I would have made sure you lived well, loved you doubly. I would have erased all the things that scared you, let you grow up happy and healthy. Ethan, that's what someone who truly loves you would do. So they don't deserve to be your parents. They're the ones who deserve to die. They're the real murderers who killed your sister. Parents who truly cared for their child could never treat them like that." Victoria was smart. She quickly saw that something was wrong with the story. A 5-year-old child should have been supervised by an adult. When an accident happened, the primary responsible party would undoubtedly be the person watching the child, which was Margaret Johnson. Therefore, it wasn't the brother who killed his sister. It was the mother who killed her own daughter. Ethan gently removed Victoria Harper's hand and stepped out of her embrace. "You're right. That's why I let it go a long time ago." Victoria Harper's words were like a ray of light piercing the darkness. He couldn't help but wish he had met her sooner. "I didn't kill anyone in the first place. I've been carrying this blame for so many years, I've wanted to smash it to pieces." Now, he almost wished Benjamin Harper would leak it to TMZ. The bigger the scandal, the better. To reassure Victoria Harper, Ethan showed her the evidence he had gathered. Victoria Harper had already suspected the truth, but seeing the proof still disgusted her. "When do you plan on releasing the evidence?" With this information, Victoria Harper could finally relax. If Ethan hadn't had it, she had been prepared to use brute force against the Johnson and Harper alliance, even if it meant mutual destruction. Let them make their move first. The bigger the commotion, the better. Once this started, there would be no turning back. Ethan revealed his plan. He would deliver this grand gift on the day of Amelia Harper's wedding ceremony. The two families' alliance meant they rose and fell together. He didn't just want the Johnson family to suffer a setback. He wanted their complete bankruptcy. In this life, he had decided to uphold justice, even against his own family. Benjamin Harper was furious after his call with Ethan. He had such significant leverage. He couldn't understand why Ethan refused to yield and insisted on opposing him. Wasn't Ethan afraid of ruining his future? Benjamin Harper was vengeful. An eye for an eye was too lenient for him. He believed in returning tenfold. With someone like Ethan, you couldn't give him any breathing room. If he ever got back on his feet, the first thing he'd do was bite back. Benjamin Harper decided to go to the Mayo Clinic first to discuss things with Richard Johnson. His former in-law had been laid up in the Mayo Clinic for days, and he wasn't sure how Richard was doing. Thinking of their past relationship, he figured he should pay him a visit. Benjamin Harper went to the Mayo Clinic early the next morning. When he arrived, Richard Johnson was eating breakfast. Apparently displeased with the meal, he swept it off the table. The housemaid attending to him, clearly used to this, simply grabbed a mop and started cleaning. "What's wrong?" So angry first thing in the morning. Richard Johnson froze when he saw Benjamin Harper. "Benjamin Harper? What are you doing here?" "Came to see you. William Hayes mentioned you were injured. What happened? Why have you been hospitalized for so long?" Benjamin Harper took the fruit basket from his executive assistant and placed it on the cabinet. "Sigh, I've been meaning to visit, but there's been so much to handle lately. Speaking of which, it's all trouble caused by your son." How could Richard Johnson possibly admit he'd been castrated? It was far too humiliating. He'd been hospitalized for a week, and the area below still hurt. Using the restroom was torture every time. Just a minor injury. Nothing serious. A blatant lie. Did he look like someone with nothing serious? Benjamin Harper had noticed as soon as he entered that Richard Johnson had lost a lot of weight and seemed to be in a poor mental state. His hands clutched the blanket tightly, his nerves clearly frayed. Benjamin Harper sat down. "I need to talk to you about something, privately." "What is it?" With a look from Richard Johnson, the housemaid left the room. Benjamin Harper stated his purpose. "Your son, Ethan? What are you planning to do about him?" Initially, Richard Johnson had thought he could take or leave this son. Without Ethan, he could always produce an illegitimate one. But now, with his injury, how could he? So, hearing Benjamin Harper's question left him speechless and conflicted. Benjamin Harper, assuming Richard was feeling soft-hearted, said angrily, "Don't forget the NDA clauses we signed initially. It's too late if you want to acknowledge Ethan now. After the immense embarrassment he's caused me, I won't let him off. If you try to protect him, don't blame me for disregarding our past ties. I'm still cleaning up the messes he made." Richard Johnson lowered his head, his voice hoarse. "But he is my son, after all. You might see him as your son, but he certainly doesn't see you as his father. Think about how much money you've lost recently and your reputation. A brat who dares to sue his own father. If he were mine, I'd beat him senseless." Richard Johnson also wished he could beat Ethan senseless. If it weren't for Ethan, his affair wouldn't have been leaked to TMZ. Margaret Johnson wouldn't have found out, and she wouldn't have gone mad and injured him. "Richard Johnson, do you really care about this son? If you truly cared, you wouldn't have kicked him out of the house." Richard Johnson sulked. "Then what do you want me to do? He doesn't listen to me anymore. There's nothing I can do to him." Benjamin Harper, "Of course there's something you can do. For instance, bring up your daughter." "My daughter?" Richard Johnson paused, then frowned, confused. "You mean my deceased daughter?" "Yes. Wasn't she killed by your son?" Benjamin Harper watched Richard Johnson's panicked expression with a smile. Beyond surprise, Richard Johnson was filled with panic and fear. His pupils constricted, his throat tightened, and he couldn't speak for a long moment. His mind raced. How did Benjamin Harper know? Did one of the housemaids let it slip? Or did Benjamin Harper investigate himself? Although Richard Johnson had tried to keep it confidential, Margaret Johnson had frequent outbursts at home. It was possible some staff overheard, and word got back to Benjamin Harper. Richard Johnson's expression was stiff. "Who told you?" "Your wife and William Hayes. She even asked William Hayes to leak it to TMZ. William Hayes, of all people. How could I have forgotten about him?" Benjamin Harper continued with a smile. "See, your wife knows how to handle things. When someone hurts her, she doesn't care if it's her own flesh and blood. She retaliates directly, without forgiveness. Ethan, he's like this because you two failed to raise him properly, failed to establish your authority. That's why he's not afraid of you, why he dares to do such outrageous things. If it were me, I'd break his legs so he couldn't run or escape. Once a person is scared, they become obedient." Benjamin Harper's face was harsh, his eyes filled with malice. Richard Johnson remained silent, and Benjamin Harper assumed he was hesitating out of sentimentality. He dared to sue his own father. What reason do you have to keep him around? Richard Johnson didn't dare tell him the truth, stammering, "It was so many years ago. Let go. He wants to uphold justice against his family, so you should abandon any father-son sentiment. He's just one son, isn't he? I hear you play around quite a bit outside. How come you haven't produced an illegitimate son? Once you have many sons, one more or less doesn't matter." Every word from Benjamin Harper struck a nerve. Illegitimate son, illegitimate son. Where would I get another illegitimate son? I can't produce one anymore. Richard Johnson's face flushed red, furious but afraid to speak out. "Old Richard Johnson, I didn't come here today to discuss this with you." Benjamin Harper stood up, patted Richard Johnson's shoulder, and said gravely, "I will not let Ethan go. I'm only informing you out of consideration for William Hayes, whose godfather you are. Think about the cooperation between our families, the interests involved. Weigh your options carefully." The meeting ended on bad terms. Benjamin Harper told him to think it over carefully, but then immediately exposed everything, giving him no chance to consider the consequences. When Richard Johnson saw the video that night, his eyes burned red. He could barely tell if the throbbing was worse in his head or below his waist. In the video, a tearful Margaret Johnson accused her husband of infidelity and her son of killing her daughter. She lamented how agonizing her life had been, how difficult things were. In a word, a living hell. Richard Johnson, beside himself with rage, swept the fruit basket and thermos from the cabinet, smashing them onto the floor with a tremendous crash. If her life was a living hell, then what the hell was his? All these years, he had catered to her every whim, buying whatever she desired. He'd hired 5 or 6 maids to wait on her hand and foot. The food at home was always cooked exactly to her liking. Her clothes, her possessions, all chosen based on her preferences, price no object. How could she claim life was hard? She was the one truly at fault, yet she acted as if the whole world had done her wrong. The mere thought of Margaret Johnson's face made him sick. That bitch. Richard Johnson cursed aloud. Richard Johnson now truly understood the feeling of suffering in silence. The incident caused an uproar online. William Hayes had skillfully filmed Margaret Johnson to look utterly pitiful, like the tragic mother figure in a melodrama. enough to make viewers weep and break their hearts. How could a mother not love her child? If she didn't, surely there had to be a reason. Once human nature twists past a certain point, it paradoxically defies suspicion. After all, who could imagine a mother becoming so jealous that her daughter received more affection than she did, that she'd harbor such hatred as to beat the girl to death? Who could imagine a mother, merely to ease her own conscience, framing her son, making him carry the weight of her crime for 19 years? And not only that, showing zero remorse the entire time, instead constantly exploiting him and using him as an outlet for her frustrations. Some rational voices online questioned the narrative, but they were drowned out by the majority who were just there for the spectacle, eager to stir the pot. It was like the dogs in Oak Ridge Community. One starts barking, and the rest follow suit, none of them knowing what they're barking about. Victoria Harper saw through it instantly, partly due to her intelligence, but mostly because she believed in Ethan. Ethan was dragged back into the online spotlight, but this time it felt like a fierce backlash. His personal information was leaked, he was doxxed, and online discussions about him turned into a toxic, vitriolic storm. The incident sparked widespread public debate. Hostile netizens labeled him a hidden murderer, constantly tagging police accounts and demanding his arrest and prosecution. Benjamin Harper assumed Ethan would be scared, that he'd compromise, that he'd come begging for forgiveness. But Ethan did none of those things. Ethan acted completely unfazed. He even encouraged Samuel Sullivan to be bolder and pushed to send Benjamin Harper to prison. If Benjamin didn't fancy prison and preferred to settle things privately, well, that was an option. For $100 million. Ethan's outrageous demand infuriated Benjamin Harper. He slammed an ashtray down in front of Samuel Sullivan. The audacity, he snarled. I give him $100 million? Does he think he'd live long enough to spend it? Fearing Ethan would drive him to apoplexy, Benjamin Harper sent Samuel Sullivan to negotiate. If Ethan refused to back down, Benjamin was prepared to escalate matters himself. They'd see whose crime was worse, Benjamin's defamation or Ethan's alleged murder. Even if Ethan managed to evade legal consequences, Benjamin could ensure his reputation was utterly destroyed. Ruined and disgraced, Ethan would have to spend the rest of his life skulking in the shadows. A week before the court date, Benjamin Harper's lawyer finally secured a meeting with Ethan. Upon arriving at the meeting spot, the lawyer surreptitiously activated a hidden camera, planning to provoke Ethan later and capture his outburst on video. Ethan noticed the cheap trick, the camera hidden in the lawyer's cufflink, the moment he entered the room. The lawyer ordered tea, poured a cup for Ethan, and then cut straight to the chase. Mr. Johnson, Benjamin Harper finds $100 million excessive. Furthermore, circumstances have changed. Frankly, you're no longer worth that price. Ethan sat down. I don't necessarily need the money, he said calmly. I can just let him go to prison. 3 years, 5 years. I have plenty of time to see this through. He damaged my reputation, caused severe emotional distress. Hiring all those trolls to slander me wasn't just about teaching me a lesson. He wanted to destroy me. That's tantamount to character assassination, maybe even attempted murder. Intentional homicide is a serious felony, incomparable to simple defamation. The lawyer met Ethan's gaze, listening as he continued in that same cool, impassive tone. You're a lawyer. You must have seen cases where cyberbullying drove people to suicide. After a pause, the lawyer lowered his voice. But don't forget your own situation, Mr. Johnson. Benjamin Harper is prepared to help you resolve your current predicament. If you drop the lawsuit and let this go, surely you don't want to live the rest of your life under this cloud of suspicion, constantly being judged. Ethan leaned back, resting one hand on the table's edge. He looked up, a knowing glint in his eyes. Oh, and if I refuse to drop the suit? What's your plan then? Haven't you seen that video making the rounds online? Your mother, Margaret Johnson, accusing you of killing your sister at age 5? She's preparing to file charges, have you arrested. Now, if you drop this lawsuit, the lawyer leaned in conspiratorially, we can make that video. And your mother's testimony. Go away. We can even play mediator, help your family reconcile. You'll still be the heir to the Johnson fortune. Once you inherit, what's a mere $100 million? You need to broaden your horizons, Mr. Johnson. Don't sweat the small stuff. The lawyer was determined to persuade Ethan. From his perspective, the offer was entirely advantageous. Only an idiot would refuse. Why was Ethan so intent on pushing things to a point of mutual destruction? But Ethan wasn't buying it. Once he set his mind on something, he was incredibly stubborn, an immovable force. He was determined to sue Benjamin Harper, and he intended to pursue it relentlessly, with everything he had. Let's keep things separate, Ethan stated flatly. My lawsuit against Benjamin Harper is one thing. Whatever case he or my mother wants to bring is another. My reputation is already shot to hell. What difference does a little more tarnish make? As for this business about me killing someone at age 5, sorry, I was too young. I don't remember a thing. If you genuinely believe I'm guilty, then present your evidence and file charges. Don't imagine you can destroy me with baseless accusations in some online video. The lawyer slammed his hand on the table, trying to intimidate Ethan. That's your mother we're talking about. What mother would make up such a horrendous lie about her own son? I can't speak for other mothers, Ethan replied smoothly. But Margaret Johnson? She has Munchausen syndrome. Ethan smiled, pulling out a copy of Margaret Johnson's medical record. She picks up her prescription from the Mayo Clinic every single week. Hasn't stopped for years. The lawyer stared at the document, utterly dumbfounded. Ethan abruptly stood, pinning the lawyer's hand to the table. He deftly removed the camera from the cufflink and crushed it before the lawyer's panicked eyes. The principle remains the same, Ethan said coldly. He who asserts must prove. Don't think being a parent grants the right to falsely accuse someone. And spreading this fabricated story about me killing someone at age 5 without a shred of evidence? That's compounding the defamation. Go back and tell Benjamin Harper. Ethan's voice dropped. The price just went up. Ethan was certain Benjamin Harper had released the video. He wondered what tactics Harper had used to coerce Margaret Johnson into recording it. And did Richard Johnson know? Filing charges to arrest him. Had Benjamin Harper even consulted Richard Johnson? And even if he had, would Richard have dared to agree? Ethan decided not to lay all his cards on the table just yet. He planned to use Benjamin Harper's own machinations to escalate the situation further, letting it blow up even bigger. After Ethan left, the lawyer called Benjamin Harper to relay Ethan's message. Worried Benjamin might not hear clearly, he even sent him the video recording. The bottom line was, Ethan wasn't withdrawing the lawsuit. He still intended to pursue legal action and demanded $100 million in private compensation from Benjamin Harper. If Benjamin refused to pay, he could wait to go to jail. Ethan had evidence that Benjamin hired trolls to spread rumors and cyberbully him, whereas Benjamin had no proof Ethan killed anyone at age 5. Benjamin had already spent a hefty $5 million hiring those trolls. Spreading rumors on that scale, known across the entire internet, constituted a criminal case. It wasn't a minor offense, and Ethan was clearly determined to blow it up. If unsatisfied with the first trial's verdict, he would immediately appeal for a second, intent on dragging Benjamin through the mud. Mr. Harper, Ethan doesn't care about his reputation at all, the lawyer explained earnestly. Regarding the matter of him killing his sister, even if there were proof he did it at 5, a case couldn't be filed. A 5-year-old child's mind isn't fully developed. They aren't held criminally responsible for illegal actions. At the scene of the incident, the primary person accountable would be his legal guardian. Of course, Benjamin knew a case couldn't be filed. His initial plan was just to intimidate Ethan, make him pliable, force him to yield. Since Ethan couldn't be held criminally liable, Benjamin decided to ruin his reputation instead, letting him fester and rot under the netizens' attacks. Ideally, Ethan would commit suicide due to the unbearable cyberbullying. That was what Benjamin truly wanted to see. The lawyer added a well-intentioned reminder. Mr. Harper, have you settled your company's back taxes recently? Best avoid any more trouble. Don't you tell me what to do. It was precisely because of paying back taxes and fines that he'd lost a huge sum of money. He had just won the bid for the Westbrook district project, and his cash flow was already extremely tight. If he had to give Ethan another $100 million, things would become even tighter. Upcoming project phases required funding everywhere. But if he didn't pay, and Ethan won the lawsuit, sending him to jail, who would run the company then? The stock price had already plummeted due to these recent scandals. If things continued like this, affecting the company's shareholders, there would be investigations. Benjamin stood no chance against Ethan's legal team. Once the cyberbullying accusation was proven, the company's stock price would plummet further, risk assessments wouldn't pass, and securing financing for the Westbrook district project would become incredibly difficult. So, after all Benjamin's scheming and effort, the final outcome was still settling privately and paying the $100 million. That $100 million felt like a massive chunk torn from his heart. The mere thought was agonizing. Benjamin could only console himself. The $100 million was just temporarily with Ethan. One day, he'd make him spit it back out. Tell Ethan I'm willing to compensate him privately. It's just $100 million, right? Tell him to withdraw the lawsuit quickly. The lawyer took out his phone and sent a text. Shortly after, Ethan's reply came. The lawyer's face fell, and he hesitated before speaking. He says, "The price has gone up." Benjamin gritted his teeth. "How much?" $1. 5 million more. Veins bulged on Benjamin's forehead, but he forced himself to sound nonchalant. "Fine. I've already agreed to $100 million. What's another $1? 5 million. Losing another $1. 5 million for no reason infuriated Benjamin. He wanted Richard Johnson to step in and pressure Ethan. But unexpectedly, Richard Johnson, usually obedient, refused this time, causing a rift between them. Richard Johnson had been on edge for the past 2 days, terrified Ethan would say something inappropriate on Twitter. Fortunately, things remained calm. Ethan hadn't mentioned the Johnson family online. Thinking it over, 19 years had passed. Although Ethan likely guessed what happened back then, he had no proof he hadn't killed his sister. He was still at the mercy of Margaret Johnson's outbursts. With this thought, Richard Johnson gradually relaxed. Upon receiving the money, Ethan immediately invested it into the currently bullish stock market, which was trending upward with excellent prospects. Ethan occasionally checked online. The topic of him killing his sister was still gaining traction. While not on Twitter trends, people discussed it daily. Just then, the official account for Love on the Road announced the premiere date for the main show and released some behind-the-scenes clips. One included Amelia Harper bad-mouthing Victoria Harper in the observation lounge. Victoria Harper just likes to party, wastes her days doing nothing, loves clubbing and hiring escorts. Who knows how many men she's been with. This video sparked heated discussions online. Saw on Twitch streams, Victoria Harper really knows how to flirt with guys. She acts like that even on the show. She's probably wilder in private. What's wrong with the production crew? What kind of person did they cast? Someone so promiscuous in private gets invited onto a dating show? This show is doomed. Is a Twitter rumor about Ethan killing his sister out of jealousy at age 5 true? Why hasn't he explained? I really liked him while watching this show. I don't usually follow celebrities, but I finally got into a reality show and liked this non-celebrity contestant. I don't want my idol to fall from grace. Amelia Harper is Victoria Harper's niece. She's seen Victoria's private life. Maybe it's true. If Ethan doesn't explain, it must be true. Can a 5-year-old child really kill someone? Humans are inherently bad. Kindness is taught. Kids easily do bad things. Anyway, I believe Ethan's mom. Now I finally understand why Ethan was kicked out at 6 to live with Grandma Miller. If it were me, I couldn't accept a child like that either. So scary, killing someone at 5? Does Ethan have hidden violent tendencies? Does he still feel like killing people now? People like him are too dangerous. People like him should be locked up. Why isn't there criminal liability for killing someone at 5? After reading about Ethan's experiences on Twitter, I felt sorry for him. Now I think pitiful people must have their hateful sides. The truly pitiful ones are his parents. Forget Richard Johnson. Cheating is inexcusable. The most pitiful is Margaret Johnson. She had a son and daughter. Then her son killed her daughter. The shock made her ill, and her supposedly good husband cheated on her. So tragic. If this is true, then Ethan and Victoria Harper should just get together and stop messing with other people. They deserve each other. Some people spoke up for Ethan and Victoria Harper, but their voices were drowned out. Just as the online discussion reached its peak, Victoria Harper posted on Twitter, accompanied by an audio recording of Amelia Harper cursing her out. "So this is what my niece says about me behind my back? Saying I have a promiscuous private life, claiming I check into the Rosewood Grand Hotel with multiple men and that my body is unclean? Let me ask, when exactly did you see me check into the Rosewood Grand Hotel with men? How come I don't know about it? Was I drugged and raped? Amelia Harper, I've already reported this to the police. When they question you, make sure you testify properly for me. Never thought I'd see the day. Niece spreads scandalous rumors about her aunt. Could Amelia Harper be jealous of Victoria Harper getting close to Ethan because she can't let him go? Oh, someone's in trouble. How dare Amelia Harper slander Victoria Harper when she herself is two-timing? Harper Enterprises has been dealing with too much lately. If Ethan is no good, then no one at Harper Enterprises is. Has the tax evasion issue been resolved? She didn't mention Ethan at all, but it feels like she's defending him. Once Victoria Harper's issue blew up, the discussion surrounding Ethan died down significantly. One storm subsided, only for another to arise. Amelia Harper, having just returned to Rosewood City, was stunned when she saw the Twitter trends. She never imagined Victoria would record her rant and post it online, showing zero respect for Harper Enterprises. Amelia couldn't figure out where Victoria got her confidence. Wasn't she afraid of upsetting both families? What good would blowing this up do for her? Having botched the job, Amelia Harper didn't even dare go home. She spent 2 days laid up in the Mayo Clinic, then lingered aimlessly in nearby cities. It wasn't until she stumbled upon the online video alleging Ethan killed his sister at age 5 that she hurried back, determined to uncover the truth. But shortly after landing, Amelia Harper was detained. She was completely bewildered as the police led her away, only realizing Victoria Harper had reported her when she was put into the police car. Amelia Harper pulled out her phone and didn't even need to search. The viral Twitter trends were impossible to miss. After reading them, her hands trembled. She spent 3 days in a holding cell before Benjamin Harper bailed her out. Once in the car, Amelia Harper, looking haggard, asked, "Dad, why did it take you so long to get me? You think I didn't want to get you out sooner?" Victoria Harper refused to sign the release agreement. Benjamin Harper grew angry just talking about it, slamming the car door shut. First Ethan, now Victoria Harper. The stress had deepened the lines on his forehead and added a swathe of white to his hair over the past 2 days. "You go on one show and look at the mess you've caused. Do you have any idea how much effort I've wasted on you? You can't handle a single task I give you, but you're certainly good at stirring up trouble. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be out $100 million. Amelia Harper, already feeling guilty, had shrunk into the corner like a quail after getting in the car, afraid to face her father's disappointment. The mention of $100 million finally got a reaction out of her. What $100 million? Benjamin Harper recounted how Ethan had demanded the money, growing angrier as he spoke. "Once this Westbrook district project is over, I'll make and cough it back up." When Amelia Harper had initially tried to negotiate with Ethan using $5 million, he'd flatly refused. She thought he scorned money, but it turned out the amount was just too small for him to bother with. His asking price was $100 million, and her father had actually paid it. Benjamin Harper added, "If it weren't for the Yang group backing him, I'd have reported him for extortion, no question. He had just secured a major project and was at a critical stage. If the Yang group decided to cause trouble now, it would be incredibly difficult to handle. Never mind. We'll put up with them for a few months, then settle the score later." "Dad, that video about Ethan online, did you arrange that?" "I did." Benjamin Harper looked at her coldly. "What, still hung up on him? Can't bear to see him taken down?" Amelia Harper asked, "Is it true?" Benjamin Harper scoffed. His mother said it. How could it be fake? But his parents always disliked him. They were biased against him. Can their words be trusted? As long as the netizens believe it, that's enough. As for bias, if Ethan were my son, I'd have broken his legs long ago. Benjamin Harper's face was filled with malice. He then warned Amelia Harper, "If you have any inappropriate feelings for Ethan, I'll beat you too. If I'd known it would come to this, I never would have arranged this marriage in the first place. Such bad luck. For the next month, until the wedding ceremony, you stay home. Don't go anywhere." Amelia Harper felt the blood run cold in her veins. She recognized clearly that, at this point, there was no possibility left for her and Ethan. Ethan had offended her father, and her father wished Ethan dead. He couldn't do it himself, so he planned to use public opinion to drive Ethan to his death. Ethan had said so many cruel things to her. She wasn't pathetic. She didn't have to be with him. A Lady Harper had her dignity. She should stand with her father, united against a common enemy. Yet, she just couldn't bring herself to hate Ethan. Images of Ethan flooded her mind. His busy figure in the kitchen, his focused expression while driving, him engrossed in paperwork, him wearing a thin white sweater in winter, looking like a bunny sunbathing on the balcony. Amelia Harper could even conjure his expressions and voice in these different scenes. Then she remembered the dream. She liked the home in her dream, liked the Ethan in her dream. If she hadn't run away from the wedding, if she had smoothly gotten engaged to Ethan, would her future have been like the dream? Once she married William Hayes, she and Ethan would be completely separated forever. The thought made her heart clench tighter and tighter, as if squeezed by strong hands. In the past, she had been too confident, thinking everything was easily within her grasp, so she hadn't cared. Amelia Harper curled up uncomfortably, pressing her right hand to her head. She was his daughter, after all. How could he not understand what was going through her mind? Benjamin Harper felt a pang of frustration. Women were just too prone to getting swept up in romance, making it hard for them to achieve anything great. He shifted his gaze out the window. Just as they were nearing home, he heard Amelia Harper ask softly, "Dad, can I not get married?" "No." Benjamin Harper's voice was grave. "You were the one who ran away from the wedding. After breaking off the engagement with Ethan, you were the one who insisted on being with William Hayes. I even swallowed my pride and got the Johnson family to recognize him as their godson. Now you're engaged, the wedding date is approaching, and you say you don't want to get married? Where does that leave my reputation? Your wedding ceremony isn't just about you. Being willful once was enough." But she regretted it. Her willfulness had blinded her, leading her to make the wrong choice. Then what about Victoria Harper? Why can she avoid marriage? She's even flirting with Ethan. You don't need to worry about that. Your uncle will find her a suitable man. Harper Enterprises had been declining for years, slipping from Rosewood City's top 5 to the top 50. Victor was now planning to use Victoria Harper as a bargaining chip, selling her off for a good price. Harper Enterprises needed to partner with Hai Chung, and to contact there was a 40-year-old divorced man with nothing but money. That would likely be Victoria Harper's fate. Thinking about Victoria Harper's potentially miserable future, Benjamin Harper didn't hold much of a grudge against her this time. Fools eventually get what they deserve. Amelia Harper understood. As long as Ethan wouldn't end up with Victoria Harper, she felt a little better. Locked up for 3 days, Amelia Harper was mentally and physically exhausted. Upon arriving home, she shut herself in the bathroom and washed herself thoroughly from head to toe. She fell asleep soon after lying down on her bed, only to have a nightmare. In the dream, Ethan lay on a white hospital bed, his thin body battered and broken, blood on his face. She reached out to wipe it away, but the more she wiped, the more blood appeared. Her hands trembled uncontrollably. Both in the dream and reality, she couldn't understand why Ethan, who had been fine, would end up like this. Ethan died right in front of her. Amelia Harper witnessed the whole thing, choked by fear. She desperately wanted to rush over and wake Ethan up, but her body wouldn't move. She opened her mouth, trying to call for a doctor to save him, but only silent tears fell. Gradually, Amelia Harper opened her eyes. For a few disoriented seconds, she couldn't distinguish dream from reality. Her cheeks felt cold and wet. Touching them, she found they were covered in tears. Why did I have such a dream? Was it some kind of omen? A heavy feeling settled in her chest. Amelia Harper got up and poured herself a glass of hot water. The warmth spread through her palm, but she still felt cold. Dreams are the opposite of reality, Amelia Harper told herself. But the image of Ethan's lifeless face in the dream made her heart clench painfully. Aunt Margaret had recently gotten hooked on Twitch streaming, crying her eyes out online every day, hoping her son would come back to see her. When Richard Johnson came across it, he couldn't stand it anymore. He went home immediately, waited until Aunt Margaret was asleep, then dragged her straight out of bed and threw her onto the floor. Richard Johnson grabbed Aunt Margaret by the hair with one hand and slapped her across the face with the other. He wanted to hit her for a long time, and now that he'd started, he couldn't stop himself, as if breaking through some internal dam, unleashing everything in an instant. Richard pinned Aunt Margaret to the floor, his fist aimed squarely at her face, knocking out one of her teeth. He would disfigure her, see if she still dared to make scenes online. Aunt Margaret took peppermint oil capsules every night to sleep, and under their influence, she was perpetually groggy. Even as she was being beaten, she was lost in a haze. When Richard's hand struck her face, it burned with pain, her ears ringing loudly, temporarily deafening her. She spat out a mouthful of blood and tried to cry for help, but Richard gave her no chance, beating her with savage fury. All these years, Aunt Margaret's fits of madness had only grown more brazen because she was constantly placated at home. Now, Richard tore off his mask, revealing his true face. Only then did she understand how terrifying a violent man could be. A woman stood no chance against him. Aunt Margaret could only try her best to cover her head, filled with both hatred and fear for Richard Johnson. At first, Aunt Margaret could still resist, screaming hoarsely and scratching at Richard Johnson. He grabbed her fingers and twisted, snapping her ring finger. The ring she had worn for over 20 years fell off, a pathetic sight. Aunt Margaret, I've indulged you for 20 years, and I've had enough, Richard sneered, dragging her like a corpse towards the bathroom. You were beautiful when you were young, but look at you now. He shoved her against the sink, gripping her chin and forcing her to look in the mirror. The woman in the mirror looked like an old beggar woman, her hair disheveled and matted with blood. The pain was so intense, she couldn't fully open her eyes, only squint at her reflection. So hideous. Aunt Margaret let out a piercing shriek, trying to struggle free, but Richard wouldn't give her the chance. Look how ugly you are now, he spat, old and haggard. I only put up with you because you were useful. If you can't offer me any value, I wouldn't even spare you a glance. You're like a chewed-up piece of gum. Sharing a bed with you every night makes me sick. The smell of medicine on you makes me want to vomit. You have no figure, and you can't even bear children. So tell me, what exactly do I want from you? Once a loving couple, now hurling the most vicious words at each other. A lunatic like you only causes trouble for me. Your daily hysterics. I wanted to send you to Springfield Psychiatric Hospital for a long time. I even wished you'd die in Springfield Psychiatric Hospital. What's the point of someone like you, who only causes problems, even being alive? With that, Richard let go. Aunt Margaret collapsed limply onto the floor like a rag doll. She looked up at the man's cruel, dark expression, as if seeing him for the first time. Fine, Richard Johnson, she gasped. So you finally said what's truly on your mind. I never should have listened to you and married you back then. Shouldn't have had your child. Shouldn't have gone against my parents' wishes and used my money to save your failing company. I gave up my own dreams for your sake, and this is how you repay me. You ruined me. I ruined you. Richard scoffed. Did I force you to marry me? You brought this all upon yourself. You deserve it. This is retribution for killing our daughter. After brainwashing yourself for so many years, you actually started believing your own lies, even spreading it all over the internet, claiming Ethan killed his own sister. It was clearly you. You, her own mother, bludgeoned her to death out of jealousy. You were jealous of your own son too, abusing him at home. And now you've crippled me. Richard pointed fiercely at Aunt Margaret, wishing he could strangle her. You're a menace. Aunt Margaret stared into his murderous eyes and laughed. Yes, I'm a menace. Then call the police and have me arrested. But do you dare? You destroyed the evidence. That makes you my accomplice. Richard grabbed her hair violently. I won't call the police. I'll lock you up. You don't deserve to sleep in a bed like this. You belong in the basement. I'll buy a cage and lock you inside it, keep you like a dog, and tell everyone you're ill. Aunt Margaret's eyes widened as she shrieked. Richard Johnson, that's illegal. Now you know about illegal? Richard said, patting her face condescendingly. Where was your concern for the law when you injured me? You rarely go out, and you have no friends. No one will even notice you're missing. I'll take you somewhere else, cut you off completely. Aunt Margaret's pupils constricted. She shrank back, fear coiling around her neck like a chain. In that moment, she was no longer aloof and superior. Stripped of her wealthy facade, without Richard Johnson's protection, she was actually nothing. All those years of feigning madness had broken her. She was like a daughter vine clinging to a tree. If the tree died, it wouldn't survive long either. Realizing the danger of her situation, Aunt Margaret began to beg for mercy. I don't want to be locked up. Richard, I was wrong. I shouldn't have disobeyed you. Shouldn't have hurt you. So now you know how to obey? Aunt Margaret nodded hastily. I'll listen to you. I'll be good. She didn't dare talk back anymore. But it was too late. Richard had no intention of letting her go, though he didn't act immediately. Instead, he got a chain and fastened it around her neck, confining her to the house. Her range of movement extended only as far as the toilet. She couldn't open the door or call for help. He didn't get her a doctor, just threw her a bottle of peppermint oil capsules and told her to disinfect her wound herself. If she didn't, she could wait for them to get infected. Dealing with someone like Aunt Margaret required a heavy hand. She only responded to harshness, not kindness. Give her an inch, and she'd think she was really something. Richard still had to work during the day. He installed a Twitch livestream camera in the bedroom. If he saw Aunt Margaret trying to signal for help, he would come home and whip her with a belt. When he didn't want to hear her crying, he'd force-feed her peppermint oil capsules, increasing the dose from her usual 2 capsules to 4. Aunt Margaret started sleeping longer and longer and was lethargic when awake. The woman who used to scream madly every night was now quiet, obedient. This was how you dealt with a madwoman. He should have done it long ago. If he had done this sooner, he thought bitterly, he would still have both his children now. His daughter would be alive, and his son wouldn't have become estranged. William had been the one to teach Aunt Margaret how to stream. He'd even paid to drive traffic to her channel. The stream had been effective. Ethan had once again become the target of online hate, labeled a simp and despised by everyone. But then, after 2 days of silence from her stream, Aunt Margaret couldn't be reached. She wasn't answering her phone. After hesitating for 2 days, William decided to go to the Johnson residence to find Aunt Margaret. However, Mr. Stevens wouldn't let him in. I'm here to see my godmother, William explained. I've tried calling her recently, but she hasn't picked up. I'm worried about her. Mr. Stevens remained stone-faced. Ms. Johnson gave instructions. You're not allowed inside. Richard Johnson gave orders not to let him in. William's heart skipped a beat, an awkward smile spreading across his face. I just wanted to check on my godmother. Wasn't she streaming on Twitch before? I haven't heard from her recently. Her phone goes straight to voicemail, and she's not responding to DMs. I'm a little worried. Could you pass on a message for me? The madam has been unwell these past couple of days and isn't receiving visitors. Unwell? William asked immediately. Is it serious? It's her chronic arthritis acting up again. When it flares up, she gets confused and forgetful. Mr. Johnson is just worried something might happen, so he insisted she rest at home. William glanced at the villa behind Mr. Stevens, then subtly scrutinized Mr. Stevens' expression. He couldn't pinpoint anything specific, but an unsettling feeling lingered. Since he wasn't allowed in and couldn't force his way, William stood there awkwardly for a moment before walking away crestfallen. The video that went viral online was William's doing. He not only recorded it for Margaret Johnson, but also taught her how to stream on Twitch, even driving traffic to her channel. A complete newcomer to Twitch streaming, drawing 500,000 viewers on her very first day. It made Margaret Johnson famous all over again. Her streaming account gained over 1 million followers in a single day. Margaret Johnson reveled in the attention, even if it was feigned. Having tasted the sweetness of fame, she wanted to stream 24/7, even while sleeping. Richard Johnson watched all this with growing anxiety and utter disgust for Margaret. That's why he violently attacked her when he got home. The brutality of his assault showed he truly wished he could beat her to death. Unfortunately, murder is illegal, and Margaret had gained too much public attention. Her sudden disappearance would raise suspicion. He had to suppress his murderous rage and decided to wear her down slowly until she died. She had destroyed his ability to have children. He wanted her life in return. Fair's fair, right? Margaret Johnson's health was already poor after years in a psychiatric hospital and daily medication. If she died eventually, no one would suspect foul play. Besides Margaret, William was another source of his fury. All this trouble was his fault. If it weren't for Harper Enterprises backing William, Richard would have already had him taken care of. An adopted child could never compare to one of his own blood. If he'd raised him from childhood, there might some affection born of nurturing, but this later rival felt like a bandit invading his home. Richard Johnson could no longer father children. Ethan was his only biological offspring. Giving the Johnson family trust to an outsider was unthinkable compared to giving it to his own flesh and blood. As a traditional man, blood ties were paramount. How could he get Ethan to return and inherit the Johnson family trust? Ethan had a temper. Approaching him directly now would only make him refuse. Richard decided to wait a while, let Ethan's anger cool, and then reach out. If father and son could sit down and talk properly, they could surely work things out. Ethan would come around eventually. Compared to the chaos engulfing the Johnson family, Ethan's life could be described as peaceful and quiet. Ethan came across clips of Margaret Johnson's Twitch streams online. With acting skills like that, if she'd gone to Hollywood, she probably would have won awards long ago. Why worry about not getting attention and affection? She played the victim so well. People in the live comments and comment sections were completely drawn into her sob story. Ethan was using a new private account. He didn't dare open his public one, which was flooded with insults and hateful comments. Right now, netizens wanted him to listen to his mother and go home obediently. And just like that, Thanksgiving was almost here. Thanksgiving, also known as a time for reunion, symbolized family togetherness. Filial piety is considered the foremost virtue. If someone couldn't even show basic respect to their parents, what did that say about their character? Such a person was deemed unworthy and destined for failure. Lately, Ethan had been busy counting his money at home. His sports bets had paid off, returning his initial investment plus profit. Before the cash could even warm his hands, he'd reinvested it in the next round. In just a few days, his earnings had far exceeded $100 million. To avoid detection, he had also arranged for a new identity. During this time at home, Victoria spent most of her days at his place. Although they didn't spend the nights together, their daily life resembled that of a couple who had been living together for a long time. Victoria basically ate and drank at Ethan's expense every day, casually updating him on events happening outside. For instance, Richard Johnson was discharged from the hospital and back home. He'd been hospitalized because Margaret Johnson had incapacitated him below the waist. Ethan was slightly surprised when Victoria told him about this. In his past life, Margaret had stabbed Richard. This time, she'd been even more ruthless. Richard Johnson was an extremely vengeful person. No wonder he hadn't seen any new streams from Margaret Johnson lately. Thanksgiving is the day after tomorrow. Any plans? Victoria asked. Ethan countered, what do you want to do? A lot of people go out for Thanksgiving. They had both been trending on Twitter recently, and the buzz hadn't died down. They were getting more discussion than some internet celebrities. They'd likely be recognized the moment they stepped outside, ruining any chance of relaxing. If they were to go out, it would have to be somewhere secluded. Just as Victoria was pondering this, her phone pinged. She took it out and saw a text message from Grace Parker. Victoria put her phone down. Grace Parker couldn't reach you, so she contacted me. She wants to know if you can go with her to see her mother the day after tomorrow. Talk about timing. They had just been discussing their own Thanksgiving plans. Before Ethan could reply, Victoria made the decision for him. It's just one Thanksgiving. You should go with her. After all, Grace Parker's mother practically watched you grow up, and you haven't seen her in years. Ethan asked, "What about you?" Not wanting to pressure Ethan, Victoria said, "I just remembered I have something on that day. I need to visit a relative." "Are you going back to the Harper family?" Ethan recalled that Victoria's relationship with her family wasn't good, and his brow furrowed at the thought. Victoria rested her chin on her hand and smiled. "What? Worried about me? Relax, nobody dares to mess with me. I can go back to the Harper family whenever I want, but I won't be going there for Thanksgiving. I'm not lying. I really am meeting someone important. When there's time, I'll take you with me. We'll go out during the day and come back at night. We can watch the moon together." Since she put it that way, Ethan felt reassured. "Let's make pecan pie together tomorrow," Victoria suggested impulsively. "Do you know how? There are so many different kinds of pecan pie available these days." Ethan had a sweet tooth, but he wasn't particularly fond of pecan pie. He usually just had a taste every Thanksgiving, eating it more for the festive spirit than the flavor. Ethan mentally pictured a recipe. "I don't know how, but it probably isn't too hard. If you want to eat one made by me, I'll buy the ingredients. Then I want pecan pie. A lot of people don't really like pecan pie nowadays. It's the pie I eat most often every year. My mom used to make it when I was very little. I can't quite remember the exact taste, just that it was delicious. So every Thanksgiving, I buy pecan pie, hoping to find that flavor again, the one my mom made." This was the first time Victoria had mentioned her mother in front of Ethan. "Why don't you call Grace Parker back first? After that, we can go online and buy the ingredients for the pecan pie." Okay. Ethan had watched tutorials for ages before daring to try. This was his first attempt at perfecting his craft, aiming to create the ultimate pecan pie. He carefully selected the nuts Victoria Harper loved, mindful not to add too many, which could spoil the texture. He ended up making several variations, eating so much pie the day before Thanksgiving that he was already full. Homemade pies, when made with good ingredients and adjusted to the perfect sweetness, always tasted better than store-bought ones. Ethan carefully packed the pies, choosing a beautiful gift box and carry bag he found online. They had made the pies together. Victoria Harper had tasted one midway while it was still warm. The rich aroma of the toasted nuts spread with her saliva. It was fragrant, the best pecan pie she had ever tasted. On Thanksgiving morning, Ethan woke early, got dressed, and picked up the gift. Remembering Victoria Harper had mentioned being stuffed from eating pie yesterday, he worried she might feel unwell today. He specially made some congee. Victoria Harper had a key to his place, but she was probably still asleep at this hour. Not wanting to disturb her, Ethan sent her a text instead, telling her he was heading out, reminding her to eat breakfast when she woke up, and mentioning the congee he'd made for her. Not long after he sent the text, he heard movement from next door. Ethan and Victoria Harper opened their doors almost simultaneously. Seeing each other, both froze for a moment before Victoria Harper broke into laughter. She was wearing a shimmering blue silk slip nightgown that accentuated her snowy skin. Clearly just out of bed, her hair was messy, but her makeup-free face was rosy and glowing. No wonder people online called her a natural beauty. Victoria Harper adjusted the shawl draped over her shoulders. "Are you heading out?" "Yeah, I'm meeting my aunt for breakfast." "Is it far? Will you be okay leaving without eating?" "Not far, about a 40-minute drive." Ethan answered whatever Victoria Harper asked without hesitation, holding nothing back. "Wait a second, don't go yet." Victoria Harper ducked back inside and quickly returned with a bag. She pulled out a packet of chocolate and a box of gum, stuffing them into his hands. "I'm worried about your blood sugar." Ethan looked at the blueberry-flavored gum in his hand, then at Victoria Harper's attire. Strangely, it seemed to fit her perfectly, reminding him irresistibly of her. "Thanks." Victoria Harper asked again, "Will you be back tonight?" "Where else would I sleep? I promised you I'd be back tonight to watch the moon with you." Finally satisfied, Victoria Harper reached up to straighten his clothes, then urged him, "Go on, hurry. The traffic will be bad if you're late." Ethan glanced at the door behind him. "I'll leave the door unlocked. Go over and have breakfast. I made some nourishing porridge." "Okay. Eat lunch on time, too. If you don't want takeout, there's wonton soup I made in the fridge." Victoria Harper had a bad habit of forgetting meals once she got absorbed in work. Irregular eating habits, skipping meals, could easily strain the stomach. He knew how unpleasant stomach problems felt and didn't want to see her get sick. Ethan only became this fussy when he truly liked someone. Victoria Harper didn't find it annoying at all. Instead, she found his voice pleasant. This side of Ethan was very attractive, making her want to keep him by her side forever. Victoria Harper said. Did you forget? I'm going out today, too. Then will you be back tonight? The same question, but this time it was Ethan asking. Victoria Harper stared straight into his eyes. What if I don't come back? Feeling as if the ground had dropped out from under him, Ethan suppressed the turmoil inside. Then I'll come find you. I'll be back, she reassured him, and I'll be back before you. I'll wait for you at home. Victoria Harper gently squeezed Ethan's athletic build, coaxing him while pushing him towards the elevator. Hurry up and go. She watched Ethan enter the elevator, only returning to her apartment after the doors closed. After finishing the breakfast Ethan had prepared, Victoria Harper changed into a red dress, applied exquisite makeup, and put on expensive jewelry. Amidst her glamorous attire, only the ruby pendant around her neck was relatively inexpensive. She smiled with satisfaction in the mirror, then left her apartment, carrying the pies Ethan had made for her. The temperature had started to drop on Thanksgiving, and the morning air carried a chill. Victoria Harper drove, the roads becoming increasingly remote, the people fewer, until finally there was almost no one else around. She arrived at her destination, Greenwood Memorial Park, filled with rows of ginkgo trees. The person Victoria Harper was meeting today was her deceased mother. Grass covered the raised grave mound, and the headstone was coated with moss and dirt. Victoria Harper reached out, pulling the weeds and scrubbing the gravestone clean, her fingertips tracing the name etched upon it. Victoria Harper. It was her mother's name. Her mother had committed suicide when Victoria Harper was not yet 4 years old. In the blink of an eye, 22 years had passed. Though the grave was cleaned every year, the marks of time couldn't be prevented. Even the photograph on the headstone had faded. Despite the fading, her mother's beauty was still evident. Victoria Harper knelt, laying out the pecan pies Ethan had made. She lit incense sticks and poured a glass of sparkling wine. Mom, it's Thanksgiving again. I'll come to see you. Do I look pretty today? I grew up healthy, just like you wished. I've been many places, met many people, tasted food from all over. I even met someone I really like. Look, this is the necklace he gave me. Isn't it beautiful? He spent my birthday with me this year. Your daughter wasn't alone. Wisps of smoke curled upwards, the scent of incense filling the air. Victoria Harper found a spot to sit, leaning against the cold tombstone as if leaning on her mother's shoulder. They say a child's memory before 4 is hazy, which is why her mother chose to die when Victoria Harper was 4. Victoria Harper died on a snowy day. Victoria Harper would never forget. It was Christmas Eve. Her mother had dressed her in a beautiful red dress and even made her an apple crumble. Outside, the wind blew snow against the window panes. Victoria Harper loved to press her face against the glass and draw. Someone was setting off fireworks. After midnight, it would be Christmas. She'd heard that Santa Claus would come down the chimney after midnight to bring gifts to all the good children. Their house didn't have a chimney, so Victoria Harper pushed open her bedroom window. Worried she might miss Santa's gift, she set an alarm for 1 a.m. When the alarm rang, she opened her eyes and started looking for Santa Claus. Then, she found her mother in the powder room outside her bedroom. Her mother lay in the bathtub, submerged in red water, sleeping peacefully. 4-year-old Victoria Harper tried to lift her mother out of the tub, but she was too small. Not only could she not move her, but she slipped and fell, crying loudly from the pain, wanting her mother to get out, hold her, and comfort her. But her mother remained silent and still. The water in the tub was already cold. Touching the water, she said to her mother, "Mommy, the water is so cold. Please come out, okay? You'll catch a cold." At that time, she didn't know what death was. She thought her mother had simply fallen asleep while bathing. She believed that when her mother woke up, she would hold her, soothe her to sleep, bake sweet cakes for her, braid her hair, and dress her in pretty clothes.